is time. It's a game I want to show the fuck up on stream, that would be nice. There we go. I know this is like the third day in a row I'm streaming, but like, I'm fucking obsessed with this game. I have to. I'm determined to give these girls a happy ending, for the love of God. Beginning of chapter 4. Money's perspective. Another morning. Nothing's changed. No progress, no hope. The only difference this morning is that Tara's still asleep. This is it Maddie's the other girl whose name continuously escapes me. It's the first time I've woken up before her since we started sleeping together. I'm glad she's still sleeping. I can tell she needs it. I slip out of bed and dress silently. My next move should be heading up to the shop. Sticking to routine is what kept Evelyn off her backs. For now. The instant I start thinking about Evelyn again, I'm hit by a powerful urge to climb back into bed and wrap my arms around Tara, hold her for a little longer. I don't. She needs a rest, and there's still some time before she leaves. Somehow, thinking about that makes me feel even worse. I try to push the thought away, but her voice does that for me.
Oh shit, what time is it?
She's sitting up in bed and rubbing her eyes. She's still wearing her clothes from the night before, or at least the top half. But her sitting up doesn't mean she's actually awake.
It's still early. You can rest more.
No, it's fine. I got this.
I'm just going to go spend some time in the shop so nobody comes to check in on us later today. Get some sleep. I'll be back soon.
You sure?
I move back to the bed and kiss her forehead before lowering her into the pillow.
I'm sure. I'll wake you up when I'm back.
Okay, cool. Thanks, babe. Thanks.
Oh. Dead silence.
I know what you meant.
I'm out the door before either of us can say a word. I don't want to think about that right now. I just need to get to the shop. Oh lord. I'm so focused on that I almost slam into Evelyn the second I step outside.
No need to rush, dear.
Oh, fuck you. My brain jumps to panic mode. Why is she here? She's never here in the morning. Did she come for us? The door isn't shut all the way. I could run back inside, grab Tara, and get out. I know deep down that it's pointless to try. If she wanted us dead, we'd be dead. I don't know why she's sparing us. If she changes her mind, we won't get a warning.
What do you want?
Her mouth curls into a frown.
Am I not supposed to take an interest in my daughter's life? I thought you had outgrown that phase.
I grit my teeth. Say of Tara's body being flung into the wall, Maddie's room in the cabin, hauntingly empty. She doesn't have the right to even pretend to be my mother.
I'm not your daughter.
Morgan!
I flinch as she raises her voice. I hate letting her get a rise out of me. There's too many memories making me afraid of that sound. She just sighs and her features sink. She almost looks visibly hurt. Only almost. There's still something inhuman about her expression. Something I've never been able to understand.
You can be so cruel sometimes. You weren't always. When you were young, you were the sweetest thing. You would never imagine the things you say to me so casually now.
Oh, is it just me or is her hair getting white? I don't think it was always that way. I think something's up. I clench my fists. Have to keep it together. My nails push slightly against the skin of my palms, as always. My fingers freeze before they draw blood.
I'm going to work.
My voice comes out as a rasp, and I cringe at the weakness of it. She puts her hand on my shoulder as I try to walk past.
Work can wait, dear. I'm sure your customers will understand. I have something to show you.
You bastard.
I thought since you were so desperate to see in my office, I could give you a little glimpse of what I keep in there.
Oh god. Evelyn drops her hand. Her lips twist into a sickeningly sweet smile.
If you're not interested, however, I'm sure your American friend would be eager to join me.
My blood freezes. I want to hit her. I want to scream at her. I'm not sure if it's the fear of the fear or the curse she's placed on me that keeps me rooted to the spot. I can't even look up. I can't even look at. I can't even look at her. mean, that's a typo. I can't even look up at her. She knows she's won, as she always has. I can feel her eyes on me as she waits for me to follow her. The moment passes, and she makes a frown of affirmation. She turns away.
Now come with me, dear.
I figure out where we're headed after a couple of minutes of walking the forest. If she's taking me in there, then this could be it.
Ah, here we are.
I look back at the house. I look back to the house for what I hope isn't the last time. What's going to happen if Tara wakes up and can't find me? What if she never sees me again?
Tara.
I mutter her name under my breath. Some dumb childish part of me hopes that she heard it somehow. It's better that she's not here, but I still wish she was.
What was that, dear?
Nothing.
I ought to thank your friend. She's made motivating you so much easier. It's nice to see you caring about someone other than yourself for once. I'd almost think you were finally growing up, if you weren't so stubbornly holding on to your teenage rebelliousness.
I don't say anything. Keep my face blank. 1, 2, breathing. She pays me no mind. We walk into the forest, past the initial tree line into its depths. At least I know where we are. Or I thought I did. As we keep on walking, I realize that I don't know where we are at all. I don't recognize any of this. The trees are different. These aren't the ones I know. They aren't even the ones that I saw when we started walking. I've walked this path dozens of times. There's no way I'm making a mistake. The branches blot out the sun, even more than usual. The shadows seem to blend around Evelyn. I can hear the creaking of old wood in the darkness. It's almost like the sound. It almost sounds like the trees are moving. I've never seen the forest behave like this. I've never seen anything behave like this. As we walk, Evelyn keeps turning her head to glance at me, probably trying to see how scared I am. I don't let my expression waver. I won't let her in. She won't win this one. The things around me don't even look like trees anymore. They're too gnarled and rotten. They twist into shapes that should be impossible. They form walls around us as we walk, pushing us forward. I can't help drawing in on myself. It's like the whole forest is closing in around us. It's getting harder to breathe. I feel like I'm about to be crushed by the forest itself. Just when I think I can't take it anymore, we break into a clearing. Oh shit. In the center of the clearing is a beautiful radiant tree. It's actually green. Real brilliant green needles. The trunk is so thick and sturdy that the bark makes it look armor-plated. The rich scent of pine fills the air and the shadows around us are kept at bay by a shimmering golden light. I can breathe again. Crisp, clear air fills my lungs. The awful sensation of the twisted forest are all but gone. I reach out my hand to it, but only reach. Something inside me tells me I'm not supposed to touch it, that I'm not supposed to even be here.
What is this?
She ignores me, or at least I think she does. She doesn't turn around to look at. I don't turn around to look at her. They're transfixed by the tree ahead of me. I don't know how long I can stand. They're staring, but after some time I notice the air around me change. My limbs begin to numb almost immediately. When I look back at Evelyn, she's glowing, an oily shimmer all over her body. And she's smiling at me. Smiling.
You were so peaceful, so calm. I can't remember another time when you were so relaxed. I hate to interrupt it. Really, I do. But I only have so much time to spend here. Do you understand?
She starts walking towards me. That's when I see the knife in her hand. Oh shit. I try to open my mouth to speak. I try to move my feet away from her. I can't. Completely still, impulse crashes against nature. My heart hammers on my chest. Every muscle in my body is frozen. I can't even shake.
This forest spirit. It's so young. As small as it is, the power within it is enough to melt the ice in this place, to draw you in. You love it so much, even though you'd only just met it moments ago.
A rush of understanding fills me. The warmth, the peace in this place. A haven from the cold and weird intruders.
I always knew you were part of this forest. much more than any of the others. This confirms that.
She grabs my hand and holds it up, examining my palm, running her fingers along its creases, as if it's like nothing she's ever seen before.
I thought it would make you dangerous. It didn't. It made you weaker.
She presses the blade to my hand. My mind screams at my body, desperately trying to get my muscles to respond.
Your one chance at success, of escape. And you're weakened by it.
She laughs to herself, like she knows a joke that I'm not in on. With a swift motion, she drags the knife across my palm. I stare in horror as blood trickles and pools from the open gash.
Since you loved it so much, I wonder how it will feel for you to be the one to kill it.
Hey, y'all? My strings are cut in that moment, and I fall over. The rush of sensation rushes over me all at once. The pain, the cold. I scream out, clutching my palm. I turn and try to crawl immediately, and my instinct shouting at me as I fall to my knees over and over. Get up, run, run! But it's too late. Evelyn grabs my wrist so hard I feel like the bones are about to break, and she swings me around and presses my blood palm against into the forest spirit. Before I can rip my hand away, I feel a voice bursting forth from within. What the fuck? Pain rips forth from my chest. The more I try to hold the words back. I cover my mouth with my hand and stumble back in horror. But it's too late. An unexplainable sound fills the air. A hideous groaning. I know what it is. I do. I didn't want to admit it to myself though. It's a spirit. Blackness moves up the shining green needles. The calming aura disappears completely and is replaced by something else. Pain. It's pain. Fall to my knees as the trunk begins to twist into itself. Bits of bark fall into the snow. The rotting blackness creeps up from its roots, and the unsteady trunk begins to sway. The needles wither and die, and my head is filled with suffering. I hear a crackling then. Black tar seeps out from the bark, smelling death. Morgan screams in pain and terror as the ancestral tree before her is held. It bursts into flames.
No.
Try to hold my mouth closed. Incantations leave my throat in a voice that's mine and yet isn't. Evelyn stands further back now, watching the scene before her. Her face is contorted into a terrifying grin. She's enjoying this. The crackling grows louder. A rift catches in my chest, and out of the corner of my eye I see Evelyn, hand outstretched. With a crack louder than thunder, the spirit's trunk splits in two. A beat of silence follows. Then I hear the screams. It comes from all around me. Something crying out within the woods. A shriek, earth-shattering wail. My heart breaks. It's not something in the forest. It is the forest, somehow. The trees around me are screaming in pain. I'm screaming now. I can barely hear myself through the shrieking vortex around me. I can't look. I bow my head, still screaming as the fire burns. Even the fire feels wrong. It's cold, freezing. Fire blooms around the tree, shooting high above the tree line, and one giant, blinding burst, the tree is gone. All that's left is a circle of scorched earth. The burn is more intense than anything I've ever seen. It looks like it stretches down forever. Somewhere in my heart, I know nothing will ever grow here again. The screams begin to fade. I slowly take my hand away from my ears.
Thank you for being such a help, dear. Really.
Morgan looks back at Evelyn with gritted teeth.
You're a monster.
How funny. Your mother said the exact same thing. You really do take after her.
I can't gather my thoughts enough to respond. The screams are still echoing in my head.
Never forget this day, child. In the brief time you have left, I want you to know for certain that you don't stand a chance at changing your fate. You never have. None of you ever had. And when the time comes for you to serve as my vessel, I'll make sure the next one won't either.
She reaches out towards me and I prepare for the worst. But all she does is pat my head and ruffle my hair.
You can find your own way home, I assume. I know how much you love these woods.
She gives another chuckle as she turns and walks away, heading down into the shadowy trees. This whole game is just making me hate this woman. I think like half of this game so far has been her just ruining shit. She disappears into the darkness. All that's left is me in the disgusting burnt circle. My mind is blank, numb with shock. Quietly, slowly, one thought begins to take form. Ah, crap. She'll pay. Let's see. So, she'll pay for this. She tried to break me for years, over and over again. I've never let her, and I'm not going to let her do it now. I don't care how powerful she is. I don't care what she did to Maddie. She's going to pay, and Tara and I are going to make sure of it. We'll destroy her once and for all. We'll leave this place behind for good, together. Nothing's going to stop us. Gonna kill the bitch. I open the front door and its weight drags me forward as I stumble inside. Put myself up on the knob, trying to catch my breath. I can't. Tara must have heard the door because her footsteps come booming down the stairs. She doesn't fall. I'm surprised, given that the last 5 times she ended up slamming into the wall. I keep telling her to be careful. This time I'm glad she isn't. Closing the door behind me, I finally managed to enter the kitchen as she rounds the corner.
Holy shit, you're okay. I thought when you didn't come home,
I'm okay. Don't worry. It wasn't anything.
I can't seem to finish my sentence. My head is swimming. I stumble again, ready to collapse to the floor.
Let's go upstairs. You need some rest. Come on.
Her voice is warm, quiet, and reassuring. Can't believe it belongs to the same girl that spent her days yelling about the Loch Ness Monster. But it's what I need right now.
Thank you, Tara.
Hey, that's what I'm here for. We're the dream team, remember?
She flashes me a very familiar wide-mouthed, goofy grin. I can tell she's trying to distract me from the fear and worry that I can see in her eyes. She's never been hard to read, but now she's like an open book. But at least she's trying. That's what counts.
Come on, let's get up there.
Tara holds my arm to steady me as we go up the stairs. I hate being like this. I'm not supposed to be weak. I can't be weak. I ignore the shaking of my legs and force myself to stand on my own. Even if I'm just walking to the bed and to sit down, it helps.
You just sit here for a minute and relax, okay? I'll go make some coffee or something.
I thought you didn't even know how to make coffee.
That's where the or something comes in.
It takes me a second to realize that I'm laughing. Everything's gone wrong, but I'm laughing. Every time I start to lose hope, she makes me laugh. She's smiling again. It's genuine this time.
I guess I'll take the risk. Thank you, Tara.
I'm not good with words. I want to kiss her, to thank her genuinely. It's not the right time. I kiss her cheek instead. Tara hesitates, staring at Morgan blankly, her eyebrows knit together into a look of worry. She doesn't say anything, just turns and heads for the kitchen. Maybe that was a mistake, but I don't think it was. A whirlpool of panic hits my brain the instant she leaves. It's threatening to overcome me, crashing over my thoughts and pulling me deeper into its abyss. My breathing runs ragged. I close my eyes, counting to 100, as I've done so many times before. It's not enough. The forest, Maddie, Evelyn, Tara. I try to raise my head above the water. I can't do this. After everything with Maddie, with Evelyn, Tara shouldn't have to deal with my problems too. And neither of us has time to deal with all the feelings I know we're not talking about. If I'm a bigger part of the picture than Maddie, I know what that's going to lead to. I'll hold it in. I'll be fine. I shake my head. It's so much harder to lie to myself than it is. It's so much harder to lie to myself than it used to be. Those heavy footsteps save me from the mess in my head. Tara slips back into the room with 2 mugs of what I think is supposed to be coffee. The smell of coffee always makes me feel calm, but right now it makes me feel sick.
Here we go. If the caffeine in this doesn't wake you up, then at least the taste will.
As long as it doesn't kill me.
No promises.
I bring the mug to my lips and taste it carefully. It's not bad, or I'm just desperate. Either way, I keep drinking it.
So, what happened out there? Did she hurt you?
Not really. She just went on about how I can't do anything to her. It wasn't anything serious.
Girl, I think we killed the forest or something.
Bullshit.
See, even Tarek is calling you on your bullshit. I want to tell her not to worry, but I can't. Evelyn's laughter rattles around in my head the second I open my mouth. Place the already empty cup of coffee on my desk. I hear Tara's sharp inhale of breath behind me, and I spin around, my heart racing. Fear and worry reflect in her eyes as her gaze flicks between my face and my hand. I look down at my own palm, still bleeding gently. It throbs now that I'm looking at it. With everything that happened, I forgot about it. Tara reaches forward and holds my hand between her own, gently applying pressure to it. Her concern is more than I can handle. I can't lie to her.
I'm sorry, Tara. We've already got so much to worry about. I didn't want to give you more.
I want to look out for you, Morgan. I can take it.
The two of us sit silently for what feels like an eternity. Every sentence I try to form falls apart the moment I open my mouth. The screaming echoes in my head. But eventually I do it. And then
I couldn't stop. I was killing it.
Tara rubs my hand, staying quiet as I continue talking. I feel my eyes stinging with more than I feel my eyes stinging the more I speak, but I have to hold it together.
It was burning. It was burning and dying. It was like the entire forest felt it. I couldn't stop the magic no matter what I did. And after everything was said and done, Evelyn, she...
I feel a tightness in my chest. I've never spoken like this before to anyone, not even Geladora.
She told me my real mother was just like me.
Can't bring myself to continue. Voicing the implications out loud would make them more real than they already are. My real mother is gone. Whatever similarities we bore means nothing. All that matters is that she lost.
Shit, Morgan.
The stinging's getting worse.
She probably doesn't know how much we know. If she's trying to scare you, that means she's really scared of us. Her pulling weird shit in the forest isn't gonna change anything.
She can't understand. How do I tell her about the screams of the forest, that black fire?
The trees were...
I cut myself off. What am I doing? I already told myself I wasn't gonna let this get to me. And here I am, already about to lose it. I have to keep it together.
You're right. Sorry. I shouldn't have made such a big deal out of it.
Hey, that's not what I meant. I want to hear what you have to say.
She sits down next to me, singing in my eyes isn't going away, no matter how many times I try to blink it back.
You know I'm not the best at, like, saying stuff. Or knowing how to say stuff.
Isn't that your job?
Yeah, but do I ever look like I know what I'm doing?
She holds my hand as I chuckle.
You've got a point. But I'm okay, I promise. It was just some cheap scare tactic. I wouldn't let something like that beat me. Like you said, this is just a sign that we're on the right track.
This precious baby, it's my heart.
Just because everyone else before us failed, that doesn't mean that...
Morgan.
Huh?
You're crying.
What? No, I'm not.
Inch by inch, I reach up and touch my cheek. It's wet. I can't be crying, my eyes are still stinging. I've been holding it back.
It's okay. You can cry.
I told you, I'm not...
My voice cuts off as I let out a croaked sob.
I'm not...
I can't hold it back any longer. I let go. Tears flow down my face for the first time in years, each one burning my skin like a tiny, painful reminder of how pathetic I'm being. I desperately try to wipe the tears away, even though I know it's pointless. They just keep coming. I squeeze my eyes shut instead in hopes that it'll somehow force the tears back in. And then, once again, I feel Tara's arm around me. She squeezes me so hard that I start thinking she's trying to wring the tears out of me.
Let it out. You know I've got you.
I let it out. Throw my arms around her and rest my head against my shoulder. All I can do is hope the fabric muffles my sobs. She rubs my back slowly and presses her lips to my forehead. I already feel like I'm burning inside, but her warmth is different, soothing. My whole body shakes against Tara. She doesn't flinch, doesn't say anything. She just holds me close. This isn't the girl I've spent years watching yelling about monsters on the internet. This isn't even the girl that stepped off the train a few weeks ago. Something about being here changed her. As I cling to her for dear life, I realize that it changed me too. I can feel my tears starting to slow down when that thought crosses my mind. I'm finally able to catch my breath. Tara's grip on me loosens as I stop shaking. When she takes her lips off my forehead, I have to fight the urge to pull her back down. I pull away and sit up instead. It's nice to be able to wet my cheeks and eventually have them stay dry. Looking at her now, I can see that Tara's face is stained with tears too. It's all my fault.
I'm sorry.
Hey, it's cool. I don't think anyone on Earth or anywhere else would say you don't deserve a minute to get it all out there.
If you say so.
For what it's worth, I think you stand a way better chance than any of the people that came before you. After all, you've got one thing they don't.
What's that?
She breaks into another massive grin. The tear streaks on her face can't hope to tarnish. I know what she's going to say before she even brings out the finger guns.
Me, obviously.
I start to chuckle before bursting into laughter. Real, full laughter. Even now, and then a sob slips in. I don't mind this much anymore. As always, she knew how to make me feel better.
My incredibly humble savior.
Hey, if I can't stay on brand even under the threat of death, I don't deserve to be popular.
I love that about you.
I clamp my mouth shut the instant the words leave it. I don't know where that came from. Tara's expression makes it clear she doesn't either.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Even when they're crying, we have time for cute lesbians. We look away from each other. I do my best to stay focused on anything in the room that will hold my attention.
Hey, can I say something?
When I look back at her, I can see that her entire face is bright red.
As much as I love to joke, I'm 100% serious about you having something that they didn't have. More than one thing, actually.
What are you talking about?
I mean, you're really brave. Like, the bravest person I've ever met. You're smart, too. A hell of a lot smarter than I am. You're...
She scrunches up her face in that cute way she always does when trying to figure out what to say next. Which means I've seen a lot of it.
You're all the things that I act like I am. You're smart, you're brave, you're strong, you're not afraid to fight back against bullshit, you're beautiful, you're capable. You've been through a ton of bad shit all your life, and you're still fighting, even against things nobody else out there believes. I spend nearly every day of my life thinking about the strangest things in the world, and I still couldn't have imagined someone like you really existing.
I hadn't watched her ramble for years, and I'm sure that by now she'd be completely incomprehensible. But I can hear every word, and I can feel my heart beat faster with each one.
And you're just really awesome and fun to be around, and being here with you is one of the best things that's ever happened to me, and I don't want this to end, and
You're in love with me.
I'm in love with you!
Yes. Wait, did I just... And she... We both sit in stunned silence. I try to tell myself that I don't know where that came from. Another lie. I've known for a while now, just like I know that
I'm really sorry. I know we agreed from the start that we wouldn't catch feelings. I swear I've never had this happen before.
She's a mess. She's a mess I'm in love with.
I get if you're upset, and I'm sorry for bringing this up now while we've still got this other shit going on. And when this is over, I can just leave, and I won't make a big deal about any of it, and we can just go back to living our own separate lives.
Yes! I grab her cheeks and pull her face towards mine before she even realizes I moved. I bring our lips together hard and kiss her in a way I never have anyone before. I don't know how to describe it. I just know it's something new. I guess plenty of times, and this isn't like any of those. It isn't like any kiss I've ever had with anyone. It's healing. It's grounding. It's incredible. It only takes a couple seconds before she kisses back hard. She grabs me and I can feel her arms move her hands moving along the length of my body. It's like she's looking for handholds. I realize in the back of my mind this is the first time we've had a kiss this deep without one of us putting their tongue in the other's mouth. I'd laugh if I didn't have more important things to do with my mouth. I have to stop for breath eventually. All we do is blow hot air to each other's faces for a split second before coming back together. This is too good to let it end so soon. One of us is crying, and it better not be me. We break to gasp for air.
I love you too, obviously.
Tara plants smaller kisses on my bottom lip as I speak.
Yeah, I kinda figured.
Saying it out loud feels incredible. It's like dropping weights that I've been carrying for miles. I can feel everything Evelyn took from me coming back in force.
I guess I really do have you after all.
With an air of finality, we break apart but remain close. Tara presses her forehead to mine and nuzzles my nose. Tara's blushing hard while looking at Morgan, determined.
I'm not going to let her hurt you. I promise.
I know.
We're gonna beat this thing, Morgan. We're gonna kick Evelyn's ass, and we're gonna save my best friend. And when we leave the shitty village behind for good, I want you to come with us.
Yeah, of course.
I'm still not able to match her level of confidence. I love her, but that doesn't magically guarantee things will be okay. I'll keep trying to get there, though.
So, what does this make us?
What do you mean?
Are we, like, dating? Or...
She rubs the back of her neck and smells awkwardly.
I mean, it's been a while since I've done something like this, and this isn't exactly a normal dating scenario.
I know what she's trying to say. We don't know what's around the corner yet.
I don't know. Not that it's anything against you, of course. I love you a lot. I don't doubt that for a second. But I don't know if I can put a name on that love right now. Not with everything else we're dealing with.
And here I always thought fighting an ancient evil monster would be the perfect setting for asking someone out.
She doesn't seem mad. That's a good sign.
Maybe, if everything turns out okay, we could give it a shot. Putting a name on it, I mean.
She cranes her neck towards me and kisses my cheek.
Saving it for after we kick some ass, huh? I can dig it. So, what does that make us? For right now, I mean.
Can we just be people who love each other? Stay friends the way we are right now, but in love.
Yeah, I think I can do that. I do have one question, though.
Shoot.
Can we kiss more often now?
That works for me.
Yeah. I already know she's about to kiss me. But I beat her there. My lips meet hers on the way up. She squeaks of surprise, melts away. Her squeak of surprise melts away as we hold on to each other. I'm still afraid. I'm still uncertain. But this helps. She helps. Thank you, Tara, for everything. It's been a weird morning. Usually when I get up, Abigail's awake and ready to go, and usually she has been for several hours. This morning though, I woke to find her dozing nearby, long past when she'd normally be up. She complained about having a headache, so we decided to take a walk through the forest to clear her head. Ah shit, they're gonna find the fucking tree spirit dead, aren't they? So far it seems to have had the opposite effect though, and we were walking in uncomfortable silence. It's been maybe an hour or so when we first noticed the buzzing. At first it was very faint, with the sound of the wind or rustling trees, then it started to get louder and louder.
Fairies!
It's the first word she said in ages. She pulls me closer to her as the buzzing gets closer. Sure enough, the source of the noise comes into view. Dozens of fairies, even as many as hundreds, flutter past overhead, form a cloud rushing through the forest nimbly, weaving over and under the branches. When I first saw fairies back in the clearing, the movements were graceful and delicate, but now they're frantic and urgent. The swarm travels right towards us, though they don't seem to notice or care about us at all. The buzzing has grown to almost ear-splitting levels, and I realize it comes from their wings. like bees. Their tiny wings beat rapidly to keep them up. They're blurry against the fairy's snow-like body. Suddenly, several of the fairies split off from the rest and dive towards us. I fling up my hands to protect myself, but they come to a halt overhead. This is my first chance to get a good look at them. Their bodies are smooth and pale blue, of a whitish tinge. Their eyes are beady and small, looking more like tiny flecks of obsidian than anything with sight. At first it looks like they're wearing gowns, but when I realize the mostly clothes are part of their body, colourful plumage helps each fairy distinct. Helps make each fairy distinct from one another. Rather than legs, their bodies taper off into a point, like a little ballerina. Like snow, no two are the same. One of them turns a somersault while the others one turns a somersault while the others hover anxiously.
Our queen! Is that you? Have you returned?
Their voices are all identically squeaky and raspy, yet impressively loud despite their tiny size. It takes me a second to realize they're addressing me.
I'm sorry. I'm not your queen. I'm just an ordinary human.
A human? Ordinary? Don't think so.
They crowd in a little closer, their fingers grabbing at empty air as if to pick me up and carry me away. They take a step back with Abigail still holding tight to my arm, but the furries just creep in even closer. Their wings beat hummingbird fast, distractingly loud.
I promise, I'm just a regular person. You're mistaken if you think I'm your queen.
A mistake? Have you seen her? We've been looking.
We haven't seen her. We haven't seen anything like her.
I have no idea what a fairy queen looks like, but I'm sure I haven't seen anything that fits the description.
How long has she been missing?
It's hard to say. Did you know? Time is a human concept.
Their answers aren't helpful at all. They at least understood my question, which means they have some knowledge of time. Does make a difference though. Why is every mythical creature in this thing completely fucking useless? Abigail being the obsession, but everything else is fucking useless. Gelidora has been useless, these fairies are fucking useless. The rest of their swarm has moved on, the buzzing fading once again, and they don't seem bothered.
If we see her, I'll be sure to tell her you're looking.
That won't be needed. She surely knows. That's why she's our queen.
The fairies' peculiar way of speaking in turn is almost comical. Since they haven't left us alone yet, I assume that they're still expecting or hoping for something. I'm a little afraid to find out what.
Do the three of you have names?
We don't. We have no need. Names are for humans, too.
They all nod in unison. Given how everything else about them seems to be insect-like, I just assume they have a hive mind of sorts. It would fit with everything else I know about the forest. I'm getting a bit tired of all the different networks and connections. It's silly, but it feels a little like not knowing the password to a friend's Wi-Fi. To help keep them straight in my mind, I give each of them a name. The one with the purple flowers hat is Hay. Anna has the blonde hair, and the last one is for you. Beside me, Abigail tugs at my sleeve surreptitiously. She's angled away from the conversation, trying to lead me out of it. I turn back to the fairies, putting my best customer service voice.
We have to go now. It was nice to meet you. I hope you're able to find your queen soon.
I don't want to turn my back on them, so I wait for them to say their farewells and leave, but instead they come in even closer, causing Abigail to gasp.
Don't go! What if you stayed? You could be our queen. You would do. We could make it so. It would be easy.
Alarm bells ringing in my head. I start to step backwards with Abigail keeping right on me.
There isn't anyone else. Not everyone is suitable. But you are. Let us show you what it'd be like. We can give you a taste. Would that be alright?
The buzzing and flittering slows as 3 pairs of eyes stare at us. Abigail squeezes my arm. I move my mouth to say no, but the way their gazes pierce into me, roots me to the spot, like tiny dancers adorned with glitter. Their skin shimmers in the low light, flittering through the clouds.
Medicine. Come on, let's go.
But I can't, or rather I don't want to, not yet.
What if they know something useful, Abigail?
We know lots of things. Secret things, clever things. We can know you, too.
That's concerning. They're pests. Their buzzing is a little too loud, and their voice is a little too shrill, but
You don't belong here. We can tell. But wouldn't you like to belong?
they keep a little closer in a synchronized motion. They're close enough now that I could reach out and grab one if I wanted to, or slap them away. I don't know. A place to belong, could they really offer that?
What exactly do you mean?
I feel Abigail's grip tighten around my coat, but she doesn't say anything. Sensing an opening, the furries circle dizzyingly all around our heads.
The forest doesn't reject you. But it doesn't accept you either. We could change that, though. Whatever it is you want! Whatever you're searching for, if you help us. Wouldn't you like that?
With a jolt, I turn to face Abigail. I'm sure she knows what I'm thinking. Whatever I want, there's only one thing. Freedom. Abigail stares back at me for a moment, then presses herself against me. Lifting up with the fairies, I nod.
Okay, just a taste.
Excited, they dive downwards until they're level with me, level with my face. Abigail cringes but doesn't let go. As one, the fairies come in, placing their hands on my face, like they're checking my temperature. Their hands are frigid, painfully so. It's amplified by the fact I haven't felt cold in days. My hands jerk around out of instinct, ready to pry them away, but I don't. Then, one of the fairies moves their hands to cover my lips. One covers my ears, and the other covers my eyes. For a split second, I feel like I'm falling through the air. And then it all hits me.
All I see is black. I'm alone. And yet, hundreds of presences flood my consciousness all at once. I can tell they're the fairies, but I don't know how I can tell. I'm bombarded by their awareness like tiny darts, not using words or thoughts or intentions, but just feeling. They're somehow distant, as if behind a wall, but so present. I try to find the semi-familiar presences of Hay, Frio, and Anon, but they're indistinguishable from the rest. There's no individuality, no sense of identity at all. They're just the fairies as a whole. But I can feel what they're feeling. Panic and anger and hurt all churned together. The feeling of being lost, of not knowing where to go or what to do, but not being able to sit still. Though I can't tie it to any particular memory or event, the feeling hits me so strongly, so undiluted that I think I might cry. I can feel that they've been scared by something, but I don't know what that something is. Then, at last, I feel a nudge within my mind. The sensation of being noticed. The presence takes me in, welcoming me. It occurs to me that I no longer exist. I try to ask what's going on, but I don't need to. The moment the question forms, the presence with me starts to answer. Images play in my head, ones I've never seen before. They're grainy like an old film. If I try to focus on a particular detail, the whole thing becomes muddy. I can see flames burning away at the forest. The fire is so real that I can almost feel its warmth. But when I start to focus on it, that too vanishes. The presence of the fairies weighs on my mind, an uninvited audience to the next part. I can see a fairy stumbling alone, but something's wrong with it. I realize instantly, I can't feel its presence. Where it should be, there's just a gaping hole, so vast and profound that it hurts by sheer exclusion. It's agonizing. I want to tear my heart out of my chest so I don't have to feel it anymore. The presence of the fairies, the whole nest, tries to reach out after it and fill the hole, but it won't allow itself to be touched. The moonlight overhead, which I crave, falls onto the lone fairy who hastens to escape it. The lone fairy flees, and the rest of them, the rest of us mourn. One word word pulses through my head, both a condemnation and reassurance. One word, though I don't know what it means. Moonsick. 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 The vision twists, and I can see a woman. But she isn't a woman. She's also a fairy, but not just. I'm so happy and relieved to see her that I just know she's the Fairy Queen. I can feel how much she misses the lone fairy. I know, because I miss her too. Desperately. I can see her searching, her hope never fading, until one day, she's gone. The loss is even greater this time. A sick mixture of guilt and shame plagues me, because I don't know where she is. I don't even know how long she's been missing. How could I have not noticed? The loneliness is so great that I want to do anything to erase it. Another silhouette flickers, just out of sight, but I can't keep track of it. We all have to watch it together, and then I realize it's me. But just like the Fairy Queen I saw before, it's also not me. Visions of time pass, months, years, centuries, and throughout all of them, all of the loneliness is gone. It all feels right. I could fix this.
The fairies removed their hands from me, and I burst back into the real world with a mighty gasp of air.
Madison, are you alright?
Fairies dart back up, away from the furious glare that Abigail gives them. All I can feel now is the hand clutching me, and I put my arm on her shoulder for support. My head spins, and for a second I think I might fall over. The dizzy spell passes soon. Once I'm confident I'm not going to collapse, I nod.
I'm fine. How long was I out?
Abigail's face flickers into a look of confusion. She presses her hand to my forehead.
Out? I didn't think they'd even begun.
What?
I watch the fairies, struggling to comprehend how much could have happened in an instant like that. There's no way.
We told you, didn't we? We aren't bound by time. Join us and you won't be either. Now that you've seen, and now that you've felt, will you join us?
Eyes wide, Abigail looks up at me. She doesn't have to say anything for me to know she's begging me to decline. I wish I could have felt how warm it was, how nice it was to belong like that. Yet at the same time, it feels like a distant dream now, something detached and fading. I try to remember the sensation, but I can't. It's water slipping through my fingers. It seems so real, but it wasn't. It was only a second. I can't send my life away to the fairies for 1 second of visions, no matter how right it felt, no matter how comfortable. I'm sure that I was just seeing what they wanted me to see. I smile at Abigail and shake my head, rejecting the fairies.
I'm sorry, but I can't. Thank you for showing me what it would be like, though.
How can we persuade you? We need our queen soon. You could be our only hope.
I know you do. But I'm sorry. That just can't be me.
We hope you'll change your mind. We'll be waiting for you. We'll be waiting for a queen.
With that, they turned tail and dart off in the same direction. Their swarm had gone. Soon, all the trace of them is gone, like they'd never been here before.
Madison, are you sure you're alright?
Yeah, I'm sure. It was just a lot. Was that really that fast?
Yes. They touched your face and then a moment later you gasped.
That's insane. It felt like a long time. Like years had passed.
Abigail looks troubled, staring off into the forest where the fairies disappeared.
Fairy magic is strange and beyond me. They're similar to the forest spirit, and yet...
Different, but in a way you can't put into words.
That's right. You certainly did see a lot, didn't you?
Yeah, I guess so. Have you ever met their queen? Or seen what she looks like?
Just once, long ago. She and the forest spirit are both guardians of the forest.
They aren't doing a very good time with they aren't doing a very good job at that. It's like Evelyn did a fucky wucky with whatever the fuck happened in the forest.
Did you see her in your vision?
Think back to what I saw, as best as I can remember. The image shifts and shakes in my head, not wanting to be called to mind. More than what she looked like, I remember how I felt, so happy and relieved to see her.
I did, but I didn't get a clear look at her. I knew who she was, but I don't know if I'd recognize her if I passed her on the street. Do you think you could mistake me for her, like they did?
Absolutely not. You're much prettier than she is.
Aww. Abigail says it very matter-of-factly, as if she didn't just give me an enormous compliment. And she carries on like it. She carries on like it too. Still my heart beating.
But to the fairies, I expect it's hard for them to tell the difference between humans. So maybe you looked like her to them.
I wonder how long the Queen's been gone. It seems like they'd been coping just fine without her, until something happened to scare them.
Something like what?
Something hot and bright, something burning, something that hurt to think about.
I don't know. I think it had to do with fire, maybe? So much of what I saw felt real, but most of it wasn't.
Fire.
Worry creases her face.
What's wrong? Did you remember something?
No, it was just a thought.
Rather than elaborate, she fidgets with her hands. I don't push the subject.
Maybe that's enough fresh air for today. We can head back to the church.
All right.
I'm pretty sure I detected a hint of relief in her voice. For the first time, I lead the way home. At least I hope it's the way. I'm reasonably confident. At my side, Abigail remains quiet and lost in her thoughts. With one hand, she clings limply to my sleeve, trusting my navigation. I don't disturb her, instead concentrating on remembering the path. It's a challenge myself. I'm sure that if necessary, Abigail will be able to lead us home from anywhere. Still, I'm beginning to fear that I've led us astray when the grim walls of the church start to come into view. A mixture of relief and pride flow through me. It's also a little bittersweet. I've come to think of the church as home, even though I've never felt that way about the cabin. Despite the fact that the concept of home is just a formality now, surrounding yourselves with walls and a roof doesn't change a whole lot. Clouds are beginning to settle overhead, muting the daylight and making everything murky. It feels fitting for the mood. Abigail speeds up a bit as we reach the door, and she's the first one inside. She sits down on one of the benches, fatigued.
Mind if I join you?
I gesture at the open spot beside me.
Please do.
Wordlessly, she rests her head against my shoulder.
Headache still?
She nods.
I'm afraid so. Our encounter there sure didn't help.
I'm sure.
They give me a headache of sorts too. More of a notion that I can't get out of my head. The fairies' outstanding offer sits with me. As hard as I try, I can't fully push the idea aside. Well, this font is really annoying me. It's been annoying me this whole game, but it's very annoying. Anytime there's an apostrophe, there's a huge ass gap. We don't need that there. There wasn't any other way out of this then. Maybe being a fairy queen would be preferable to just being a normal ghost. As long as I could still be with Abigail. As long as I could still have Abigail with me. That's the last resort though. Because for as long as I can, I have to hold out hope that things can just go back to normal. That Tara and I can leave Eisenfell as the same way we arrived. And that we can take Abigail with us. Beside me, Abigail shifts her head just a little.
I'm sorry. Am I bothering you like this?
Not at all.
I wonder if she's close enough to hear my heart beating. Maybe it can't always be like this. Maybe it can't always be like this, but just for now, it's alright. It's been a couple days since we met the fairies and they made their offer. I haven't been able to get it out of my head. The visions themselves are just slush now, with the memories of them having eroded into non-existence. but the feeling remains, the feeling of belonging and freedom. There's something else I can't get out of my head though, and she's sitting right beside me.
Madison, here they come.
Sure enough, a mother deer and her fawn come trapezing out of the bushes, no doubt on their way to get a drink. Starlight and the waxing moon make them look like ghosts at first, barely visible in the dusk. Upon entering the clearing, they see us, and both freeze. Abigail smells encouragingly, reaching out a hand towards them. After a moment's hesitation, the fawn takes a tentative step forward, and then another, and another.
This one's name is Alma.
Hello, Alma.
I greet it the same way I would greet a friend, dog, or cat. Deciding we're not a threat, the mother deer goes to the pond where the baby one, the baby one creeps even closer. Abigail never moves towards it, never pushing too far. Then nuzzles her hand, leaning into the soft scratching motion of her fingers.
Is this the deer that was watching you sing the other day?
Most likely. Alma's a little bit shy and sometimes prefers to keep her space.
You know this deer pretty well, huh?
Of course, we're very good friends.
To demonstrate, she strokes Alma's tawny neck. She doesn't have to sit up to do it, so since the fawn's face is just about the level of her shoulder from where we're sitting on the ground, Alma closes her eyes, clearly enjoying the attention.
Would you like to pet her? I'm certain she'd let you.
Sure.
I lean forward, my hand outstretched like Abigail's was. The second I move, Alma's eyes go wide and she bounds away into the darkness. Her mother watches alarmed from the shoreline.
Guess not.
Alma, come back. I promise Madison won't hurt you. She's just as sweet as you are.
I'm glad for the darkness and that she can't see me blush while she's not looking. I scale a little bit closer to Abigail, just a bit. The hanging fairy bulbs help to illuminate the young deer, who watches from a safe distance. None of the fairies themselves seems to be around though. It takes a bit, with Abigail and I both sitting silently, but the fawn chooses to come back after all. Her steps are still reluctant and ready to dart away at any second. She lets Abigail pet her, but watches me warily while it happens. I don't mind, I'm content to just watch and enjoy seeing how happy it makes them both.
How long have you known Alma? It must have been a while for her to trust you like this.
Oh yes, I've known her for her whole life. And I've known her mother since she was small too.
Abigail waves at the mother deer by the pond, who returns to sating her first.
That's amazing.
I can only imagine the patience, time, and dedication it must have taken to earn the trust of the woodland creatures. Still, all things considered, I'm not surprised that they'd make an exception for someone like Abigail. She exudes comfort. Not sure how else to describe it, and I've certainly never felt anything like it before. Maybe being close to her is just a comfort for the deer. It's just as comforting for the deer as it is for me.
Do you have any other animal friends that I'll get to meet?
Oh, certainly, if you'd like. I'm sure Mr. Bearer is asleep for the season, but perhaps once he wakes up, there are...
Oh shit. Can I take back Go Nations? Oh shit. Perhaps once he wakes up, there's also a pack of wolves around, but for Alma's sake, that would be best left to another time. The deer nuzzles her hand in agreement, and Abigail coos contently at it.
None are quite so friendly as Alma and the rest of the deer, though. When I was a child, I wanted to have a deer for a pet. I thought that perhaps I could learn to ride one, like a horse. My sister and I would look for footprints in the snow and track them for as long as we could.
She looks up at me, smiling despite the melancholy tone in her voice has taken on.
We never got very far, of course. Hardly a few feet into the forest. But to children like us, it was quite an adventure.
You must miss her a lot.
Abigail hardly even mentions her family. I imagine that despite how long it's been, their memories must still be painful. She smells thinly.
Innocence.
The deer is still luxuriating under her caress. Her hand moves rhythmically and gently, alternating between petting and scratching Alma's neck. She relaxes a little, resting against my side, but continuing to pet the deer.
More than anything, I think I miss the days of wonder and awe, back when the forest and all of its creatures were still a mystery. Sometimes I wish it could be like that again, that it could be unknown.
You wish that you hadn't met them?
No, not at all. At least, not given the circumstances. I'm quite grateful for the companionship they've given me. For so many years, they've been one of the few sources of company that I've had. But while my love for them has never diminished, I've come to the conclusion that it's grown to the most it can grow as well. That's simply what the world had become for me. A small world of gnomes, and nothing more.
She looks away from the deer and back at me. A few tears spot her face, but she doesn't look sad. In fact, she's beaming.
And then I met you, Madison.
Moonlight frames her face. The lovely night sky, the fairy tale friendly deer, the ethereal woman. It's an image straight out of a painting.
You were my first unknown in countless years. The first soul I could speak with that I didn't yet understand. And what a wonderful unknown you turned out to be.
I'm frozen again. I've never had anyone say things that sweet to me. How am I supposed to respond to something like that? I try to calm my heart as it hammers in my chest, looking at her soft expression only serves to accelerate its rhythm.
Thank you. That's really, really sweet. I think you're wonderful too.
Her free hand darts out to grab mine before I have a chance to react, as her eyes widen even more, nearly startling the deer away.
Do you really mean that, Madison?
I really do. You're an incredible person. I can't imagine having to go through what you've been through without losing any sort of capacity for joy. But here you are, still so full of energy and positivity. I hope that I can maintain that sort of optimism.
Abigail let go of the deer and flings her arm around me in a tight hug. It's a pretty awkward position because of how we're sitting together, but I don't mind. I hug her back, as best I can, my only anchor in the storm of chaos that my life has become. Indignantly, Alice slicks her ears back and darts off towards the trees again. Without letting me go, Abigail cranes her neck to watch this time, not calling the deer back. Alice's mother bounds over to join her daughter, and they go off, both careening off. They both go careening off. I lean my head down to rest against Abigail's in what became a familiar position. When we get so comfortable with each other, being like this just feels natural. She parts from me after a moment, sitting up straight again. She tilts her head up to look at the stars, and I gaze with her. The night is mostly clear, except for a few wispy clouds. All is still and quiet and calm. Even the pains of the forest don't seem to reach us here.
I wouldn't call myself an optimist.
I blink, surprised by her sudden words.
I don't, nor have I ever really had much hope. There are small comforts and delights, but those aren't the same thing as hope. I can remember names and faces, and even dreams and aspirations that I once had. But do you know what the most curious part of it is?
She glances at me. I notice tears in her eyes. Without thinking, I reach up and brush them away. No reaction. My heart pounds in my chest, nervous about something that I can't identify, or that maybe I'm unwilling to accept, afraid to be wrong about.
What is it?
I can't remember how it felt for those dreams to be within reach. Even with my meager, lonely existence, there was still a chance. As unlikely as it would have been, there was always a possibility that someday something would change. Something might happen. There was a light, so to speak, to look forward to. And the day that I died, that light went out.
More tears, placing the ones that I wiped away, sparkle in her eyes. I move to repeat the motion from before, but this time she stops my hands, holding them in her own between us.
I never gave thought to what this unlife might be keeping me from. Not from the life I left behind, but whatever it is I would have been met with had I lived to the end of my days. For a long time, I considered myself lucky that I was free from hurt and pain and worry and loss. Even if they were predictable and boring, my years here in the forest haven't been unpleasant. But I've never been optimistic. I've never had anything to look forward to. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine meeting someone as perfect as you. Never did I imagine that I would be happy again.
I understand. I know what she's saying, and more importantly, I know what she means. A shiver runs down my spine.
But Madison, I don't deserve this happiness. Not at the cost of your own. I keep thinking how if I'd been a bit faster or more decisive, perhaps I could have saved you that day in the snow. And that even if not, I don't know what future I've stolen from you. I don't know what awaits those of us who pass on. All I know is this unlife and its permanence, and the way that you deserved better.
She's crying now, fully. Her chest heaves into a sob and I pull her closer to me, and as tight a hug as I can manage. I kindly and delicately as I can, as gently as she always treats me, hold her and sway gently, as much of her position will allow. I can tell, just in the way she cries, she's been holding this in for a long, long time. I let her let it all out. It must have hurt so bad to be feeling this way. I speak in a whisper. Maddie and Abigail sit together in front of the moonlit lake.
It's not your fault at all. Don't ever blame yourself for any of this. Ever since we met, that day in the forest clearing, all you've done is made things better for me. I don't know if I ever told you this, but during those first days after we met, seeing you again was all that I would look forward to. I'd go to bed thinking about you, and wake up the next morning thinking about you. And as for everything else, to be honest, I don't know how to feel about a lot of it. So much of it is just hard to process. I thought that it would get easier with time, but it hasn't. But there is one thing I know. One thing that I'm absolutely sure of.
Squeeze her hands and I see her startle just a bit. Text seconds on the screen. No matter what I'm missing out on, I'm sure I'd rather be here with you. I mean it, every word of it. I never really put too much thought into an afterlife, or anything like that, but any time spent here with Abigail is time well spent. And if that means eternity, then, well, so be it. Beside me, Abigail gazes into my eyes wondrously. Her lips move as she searches for the words she wants to say.
Madison.
She shifts so that the starlight creases her face, perfect and yet not nearly as luminous as she is.
May I kiss you?
For once in my life, I don't overthink it.
Yes.
Her eyelids flutter and close. Her breathing trembles, then steadies. I empty my head of any other thoughts. Maddie kisses Abigail, let's go. And I press my lips to hers. So soft and so warm, as delicate as the fresh fallen snow, as sweet as clam candy. Her form shivers against me, and I place an arm around her for support and for comfort, mutually. I can feel her getting more confident and more relaxed as 200 years of loneliness are melted away one by one, and we're left just two souls sharing a first kiss under the night sky. It feels so right that after we've both been through so much sadness and loss, that we're now able to share this moment of joy. Not just share it, but be able to finally offer it to each other. It's our light at the end. It's our light to the end of the tunnel. When we finally part, my lips still feel electrified, She regards me with a coy expression, but a happy one.
That was even more wonderful than the many times I had imagined it.
Oh.
I hope it was worth the wait.
I'd wait another 200 years if it was the only way I'd get to kiss you again.
I promise. You won't have to.
To prove it, I lean forward and give her another quick peck on the lips. Abigail leans against my side again. I've done this several times before, but I've never felt like this. I've never felt this right. Everything feels a little brighter now. Our next day passes blissfully. We wander the forest, seeing all our favourite spots. The comfort of our new relationship makes the time we spent together even more joyful. Everything is prettier when I'm seeing it with Abigail beside me. Of course, as has become our tradition, we end up back at the mystical fairy grove. We set into our favourite spot by the shore, with a perfect view of the pond. As much as I love films, I've never been a big fan of romantic scenes. They always feel so forced, the soaring music, the obvious atmosphere, the cheesy dialogue, so divorced from real life that I just can't take them seriously. But here I am, watching the sunlight reflect off the shimmering water of the lake as the woman I love leans against me. And I think that maybe those scenes weren't so unrealistic after all.
Madison.
What is it, sweetheart?
Oh, sweetheart. I don't use pet names, it's not like me at all. With her, it feels like it fits.
I know that I've said this before, and will probably say it many times in the future, but today and yesterday have been some of the happiest days of my life.
Mine too. And it's okay. I'll never get tired of hearing you say that.
She smiles at me, as soft as ever. I hid in her expression and her tone of voice, I can hide a tinge of sadness. I touch her face, running my thumb across her cheek. She closes her eyes and leans into the motion.
Are you feeling okay?
Of course. Why wouldn't I be?
I don't know. You just looked a bit sad. Maybe it was my imagination.
I expected her to deny it, but instead she nods.
You do know how to read me, don't you?
I do. What's wrong? You can tell me anything, I promise. Only if you want to talk about it, of course.
She pushes closer to me in response, resting her head against my chest.
This day is so lovely. I don't want to say anything that could spoil it.
You don't have to worry about that, Abigail. I love you, and that means I want to be here for you no matter what. We're going to have plenty of wonderful evenings, I promise. And being open with each other is the best way to make sure they stay wonderful.
This is unlike me too. Usually on the first day of a relationship, I'm still a bumbling bag of nerves. What if I say the wrong thing? What if I move too fast or too slow? But it's different with Abigail. The fear isn't there. I can't quite explain why. I just feel like I don't have to worry with her.
I was thinking about other happy days that I've had. How long it's been since then. And how the memories have since soured. How much have I told you about my sister?
Not much. You mentioned that the two of you were close, and that you spent a lot of time in the woods together, but that's it.
We weren't just close. Helena and I were inseparable. Whenever anything went wrong, she would always be there to protect me. She swore that that would never change. But fate had other plans for the two of us.
She trails off. Every other time she mentioned her sister, it was only in passing. Her story last night about tracking deers is the only solid detail I have about her. At first I expected her to stay quiet like before, but instead she keeps talking.
For as long as it's existed, Eisenfeld has had a curse, you could call it. A terrible monster who would destroy the village if given the chance. To appease its terrible rage, we would offer a sacrifice to it. Every generation, a new offering would be chosen. But it didn't just want flesh. The head priest would take the sacrifice into the forest to be offered to the horrible spirit. The sacrifice's soul and the head priest's body would both be consumed. Then, the new head priest would emerge, having taken the form of the poor sacrificed victim. It was a painful reminder of those we had lost. When I found out that it would be a member of my family who was to be taken and given over, I wasn't shocked. There was only one thing that I cared about. That it wouldn't be my beloved Helena who was harmed.
Her voice wavers before she falls silent. Before I can tell her that she's sad enough, she speaks again. Each word shakes as it leaves her mouth.
I couldn't forget the joyous days of our childhood. I couldn't let such a kind soul suffer such a horrible fate. So, when the time came, I offered myself. I volunteered to die so that Helena could live. And in that very moment, when our fates were sealed, I looked at them, at Helena. And do you know what I saw?
Captivated by her tragic story, I can't even answer. I don't move my head or my lips.
Relief. Not once did she try to stop me or change my mind. Not that I would have let her, but I don't think she even thanked me. My parents cried, of course, but they didn't argue either. Neither of them stepped forward to take my place. No one did. While I'm sure my sacrifice was appreciated, I was quickly discarded without even a token effort or gesture of appreciation. My sister, who had sworn to always protect me, had no difficulty accepting the fact that I would die for her.
What? She just gave you away? Just like that?
If death looms over you for long enough, it corrupts everything. Even love.
It didn't corrupt you.
Perhaps. Though I believe that that's why I'm still here today.
What do you mean?
The first step of the ritual involves separating the sacrifice's body from its soul. From what she told me, as she did it, those poor victims usually try to resist, begging for someone else to be taken. And when their souls are ripped away, they're too damaged to carry on. I didn't resist. I went peacefully. And so the gentle forest spirit, who I'd been raised to believe was some kind of demon, eventually came and took me away. And I've been here ever since.
Her words carry a sense of finality. Not knowing what else to do, and still stunned by her story, I simply lean closer to her and pull her into an embrace. There aren't any words that could be enough. Physical comfort is all I can offer. To my surprise, though, she finally pulls away from me. She looks happier than before, just like I did earlier. She touches my cheek gently, then leans in for a kiss.
Thank you for listening. I've told the one person who matters, and now I think I can heal.
I know, sweetheart. I love you. More than anything.
I love you too. More than anything.
She sighs contentedly and leans against my shoulder. She takes my hand, intertwining her fingers with mine. We sit there for a long time. We don't say anything. We don't even move. All we do is watch the sky and feel each other's heartbeats. I wake up with a headache, and I know there's something wrong. I'm alone. Abigail must have disentangled herself from my arms at some point, leaving me on my own. I get up and pace around the church, not seeing her. After a bit, I find her outside its doors.
Good morning.
Good morning, my love.
Her lips smile, but her eyes don't, and it's a look I'm pretty familiar with by now. I slip an arm around her as I take a spot by her side.
Sleep okay?
Well enough. I'm sure all of my nights will be better now that they're spent beside you.
I can't help it. I kiss her on the cheek, and true joy brightens her face.
How about you?
Pretty good. I woke up with, a bad feeling, though.
A bad feeling? About what?
I'm not sure. My head kinda hurts, so maybe that's it? Actually, now that I think about it, This is the first actual pain I've felt since turning.
It's not the worst headache I've ever had, not by far. It's enough to be annoying. It's also the same as being dehydrated or having a slight cold.
Aw, poor dear.
She stands on her tippy toes to kiss my forehead.
I felt the same, actually. I had hoped that stepping outside might help, but it seems not.
She rubs her temples, and I notice just how ragged her eyes look.
How long have you been out here?
A while. Perhaps an hour or so. I was afraid I'd wake you.
Nah, I slept right through. It's not just a coincidence that we both feel sick, is it?
Abigail purses her lips. Her brief silence is enough confirmation.
No, I doubt it is. It must be something to do with the forest.
The trees before us sway in the breeze. To me, they look the same as ever. No trace of lingering sickness or pain.
You felt bad the other day, too. When we first met the fairies? Was it the same thing then?
Most likely. Changes in the air. Something's happening. And it isn't good.
Think of the fairies fleeing some unseen terror.
Is it... Evelyn?
Half expected to shake her head. I wanted to say no, but she nods.
I think so. I don't know what she's done or why. But this can't all be coincidence.
I nod. My thoughts are turning to Tara and Morgan. I wish they would just get out of here, leave me to my fate and escape. Let Evelyn do whatever it is she's doing while they're across the ocean safe. I know that won't happen though. Tara's not the type to back down from a fight. Except this time, I know she's hugely outmatched, even with Morgan's help.
What about the forest spirit? You said it's a guardian of the woods, right? Why doesn't it stop her?
I'm sure it's doing what it can, but it's just as intimately connected to the forest as the fairies are. Far more than you or I. So as the forest itself weakens, so does it.
Worry creases her brow.
Is there any way we can help?
Not that I know of.
I can tell she's not really happy with that answer.
Maybe we can think of something together. There has to be something we can do.
Yes, perhaps.
She looks up at me, adoringly.
I feel like I can accomplish anything with you by my side.
Her loving words are nearly enough to counteract the worry that I feel.
We've already beaten death. There's no way Evelyn can stop us. At least not a second time.
First, we just have to figure out how. Abigail slips her hand into mine, where it fits comfortably.
Perhaps you'll make an optimist out of me yet, Medicine. Shall we go for a walk?
Absolutely.
I'm glad that our changing relationship hasn't changed our routine. The walks around the forest keep me grounded. They're enjoyable, but also a solid reminder of how trapped we are here. My dreams of finding a way out haven't disappeared or diminished at all. It's just evolved to include Abigail too. There's no way I'm leaving these woods further. We chat idly as we stroll, enjoying the newfound comfort and intimacy that comes from being lovers, rather than just friends. The pain in my head is still there, and I'm sure Abigail still suffers from hers as well, but it's easy enough to ignore, in lieu of the pleasure that simply being together brings. We've reached the edge of the fairy clearing, where we always seem to end up. Abigail's glued to my side. I wouldn't have it any other way.
We're probably a little bit early to meet Alma, although they sometimes come by at this time. This grove is one of the easier places for the animals to come drink during winter, so it attracts all kinds of wildlife.
Yeah, I've noticed all kinds of tracks in the snow leading around here.
She nods, pleased. But then we enter the grove itself, and my blood runs cold. Fuck, you had to ruin it, didn't you? What's happened now? Abigail and Maddie stand before a stark red blood stain on the snow. Just ahead, lying frozen in the ground, is a fawn that I know is Alma. Of fucking course you killed the deer! Of fucking course you did, you bastards! It's clearly dying, if not already dead. With a shriek, Abigail drops my hand.
No!
I can feel her anguish cut through me like a knife. Vascurial and burning. Dashing over and hands outstretched, she falls to her knees and presses a tender hand against its snout. A small motion confirms that it's alive, if just barely. It leans into her, either in fear or in recognition, eyes wild.
No, what's happening to you?
I move closer as well, though not so close as to crowd them, and what I witness makes my stomach churn. Gaping wounds perforate the whole thing's body, staining the ground red with blood. They look like knife wounds or bite marks, but there's no visible damage or puncture. It's more like its body simply opened up. Abigail flails her hands, clearly wanting to help but afraid to touch it and cause more pain. She turns to me, teary-eyed.
Madison! What do I do?
I don't know what to do. I don't even know where to start. I kneel down beside Abigail. The lacerations cover Alan's body are clean and uneven, but varying in size. Some are minute, so small as to be nearly invisible. The largest is the gash that runs the length of her torso.
How does this even happen?
Through choking sobs, Abigail manages to answer.
Magic! These are not normal injuries. It's the forest. The forest is sicker than I thought. And all of its children are hurting for it too.
So we get headaches while Alma gets this? I shudder. Is it random? Could have just as easily been one of us laying there, bleeding out. Maybe our ghostliness is more than a blessing than I thought. In that case, though without it, we wouldn't be affected by the forest illness at all. Leaning over, I gently stroke the deer's head. Its breath is restless and agonized, but it seems to register my presence. My thumb brushes against a wound that I didn't notice, and I jerk my hand back while Alma groans in pain.
I'm sorry.
The deer's blood is viscous, unnaturally so, and slick like motor oil. It sticks to my fingers, stretching and webbing, so neither warm nor cold. It's unnervingly neutral. Try to rub it off in the snow, but my fingers pass through the ice and dirt, of course. My hand trembles with a disgusting feeling that it'll never be clean again. Abigail is still beside herself, wringing her hands impotently. There's nothing that either of us can do, just sit here and wait as Alma passes away in agony. But then, a tremor reverberates through the clearing. The ground shakes and snow is rattled from the branches. Fairy baubles dance up and down. Abigail and I both face the forest in the direction of the sound, already knowing what's coming. Let's go, MVP, our boys here. The forest spirit strides into view, as tall as the trees, but no taller. It brushes past trees with no notice of the branches and snow that it disrupts. As it's drawn into the clearing, it acknowledges us with a level gaze. It's been a while since Abigail and I have been by to see it. The deer looks up at the forest spirit with pained recognition, its eyes wide and breathing shallow with pathetic relief. Abigail looks up at it too, tearfully, clearly glad to see it. The spirit looms closer. Its great presence alone seems to revitalize the air around it. A headache vanishes in an instant. The spirit stretches out one immense finger, drawn from head to tail across the deer's mangled body. The two lock eyes, and as the spirit retracts its hand, it curls the finger inwards, calling Alma to it. In one motion, the deer's eyes roll backwards as life exits its body. At the same time, its spectral form, ethereal and perfect, rises from its corpse, boundless as in life. It gives us one last glance, then it springs across the fallen snow before vanishing into thin air, going to join some spectral herd somewhere. Abby wipes her eyes of tears and stands. She moves to the spirit's side and gently pats it.
Thank you. I'm glad you came.
The spirit's shoulders sag. Its branches hang low and still, despite the slight despite the slight breeze. I notice what looks like burn marks on its hide and where parts of its wooden skin is blackened in the dark. Without a doubt, it's Evelyn's doing as well. It reminds of an old man putting a child to rest, sorrow and surely pain as well weigh heavy on it. I wonder how it, and I wonder how it knew to come. Did it feel Alma's pain, or perhaps Abigail's? Bearing the emotional weight of an entire ecosystem, my heart aches for the spirit, as well as for Abigail, who seems forever hurt by her powerlessness. But even the freaking forest spirit is miserable. Everyone miserable in this game. This game just feels intent to torture me. The spirit and I meet eyes again, and I bow my head in reverence. I don't know it well enough to speak to it, like Abigail. For Alma's sake, I'm almost glad it's here. It stoops down and picks up the deer's corpse. Blood now runs freely from the injuries, somehow not clotting, and I have to look away. But a second thought for us, the spirit turns and leaves once more, going back the way it came. Abigail and I watch it go, and all the encounter couldn't have lasted more than a minute or two. Long after the last of its footsteps have faded away, Abigail and I sit in silence. I hold her close until finally we return to the church. The rest of the day passes quietly, the early euphoria of our relationship being overshadowed by fear and shifting forest. Although Abigail is never more than an arm's reach away from me, and usually closer, she's nearly silent. Our headaches return not long after leaving the fairy clearing, and stronger than before. Now some combination of pain and sorrow keep us both quiet. At some point I reach for her hand out of habit, and then when it happens, my hand passes right through hers, as if she isn't even there.
Abigail!
To the first thing that comes to my mind, with fright, and she leaps up, searching around for the source of my panic. It seems she didn't even feel it.
Look!
I reach for her hand, and once again it passes right through, just like when we first met, before we could even speak with each other. I understand, and she understands instantly.
Oh no! Oh no! What's happening? Are you okay? Do you feel any different?
I don't know enough about magic to even start to guess why this may be happening to her.
Should we take you to the forest spirit? Or get you some rest? Or...
Madison, it's not me.
What?
It's you.
I look down at myself. Sure enough, my whole body is slightly transparent. I can see the floor of the church through myself. Vertigo hits me and I stumble. Abigail rushes forward to catch me, but of course she isn't able to. Dread fills my heart. Please no, not again.
What do I do?
I slap my hand. A pathetically ridiculous action. I can't even feel it. My own hand goes right through me. Shaky, Abigail stands up, holding her head.
Something's happening to the forest. This must all be connected somehow. It's simply impossible otherwise.
What could Evelyn be doing?
I know that she has to be involved, or even have to ask.
I have no idea. Nor do I know why she's choosing now of all times to do it.
Why does this bitch just have to ruin everything?
Do you think the forest spirit can help us?
The forest spirit is all I can think of. The only ally that we have. At least it's a powerful one. Abigail looks away. I'm sure the spirit was her first thought too.
Perhaps we can try.
Wordlessly, we head out of the church and I follow behind her. The happiness and joy we shared so recently was evaporated entirely. I wish that my life, whatever form it takes for us, could just slow down, that we could have more than a moment of rest. But I know that's impossible while Evelyn is still out there. I know that one way or another we're going to have to be the ones to deal with her. But what I don't know is if we even have a chance.
Do you know what's going on? Has something like this happened to you before?
It hasn't. This is the first I've seen of it. But I think I know. I think that the forest is having trouble keeping you here. The magic is getting weaker too.
So does that mean that...
I leave the implications unspoken. Abigail halts in her tracks, facing me with a fiery determination.
No, I won't let anything bad happen to you. Not again. I promise, Madison.
I don't know if she has the power to keep that promise, but I can only hope so.
Okay, I trust you.
I really do. Believing in Abigail is my only option, but even if it weren't, it's like she said, together we can get through anything. Trying to think of what it would mean if I'm wrong. I'm not even totally sure myself. Would I just cease to exist? Go on to an afterlife? Something else? None of the options are especially appealing, and I know that dwelling on them will only make me feel worse. So I just focus on the here and the now, and on sticking close to Abigail. Even I can tell that she's right when she says the whole forest is affected. Aside from the harsh wind, everything else feels subdued somehow. The trees don't seem to stand as tall, and the leaves and needles look dull, even by wintry standards. What little sunlight there is feels dreary rather than bright. A light snow falls from the sky, but the heavy clouds overhead promise more, and soon. It occurs to me that we've been walking longer than we normally have to. Instead of changing the forest path to get us there quickly, we're following the regular route through the trees.
Hey, why aren't we taking the shortcut through the forest? Is it too sick to let us do that?
Wriggling her hands, Abigail looks away.
It's more that I'm afraid to try. If I push myself too hard, then...
She leaves the consequences unspoken. You can imagine what they might be. The same as what's happening to me, or worse. Whatever exactly that is.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. It's okay. Take as much time as you need.
It's been so long since I visited the spirit. Our brief moment in the grove with Alma was the first time in days. I wonder if it's missed me.
Of course it has. Who wouldn't?
You're far too sweet, Madison.
She noses her head against me. The angle is a little awkward since we're still walking, but it's nice. Then she jerks away, like she was stung.
Oh, you're back!
Back?
Her hand envelops mine, smooth and soft like always, rather than passing through me.
Oh!
Just because she can, she leans forwards and gives me a quick peck on the lips.
I was so worried.
Me too.
I rub my hands. I rub my arms and sides, making sure that I'm all there. Everything seems to be in order.
Hopefully it's permanent.
Indeed. It's not too much farther to the spirit either. We should hurry.
Sweat makes her brow glisten a little. She's definitely still feeling strained, even though I can tell she's trying to hide it.
Don't push yourself too hard, sweetie.
I won't.
Pennies are adorable. Still, despite her words, the longer we walk, the more visible a toll it seems to take on her. Her steps slow down, even though she wants to hurry. And her breathing sounds labored.
Are you sure you're alright?
I'm fine. It's just...
Rubbing her eyes, she shakes her head. Right then, a pile of snow hits the ground, a few feet away from us. Looking up, I spot a tree dripping. Its boughs angled downward as if bent.
It's the forest again. Not me alone.
She voices what I already know.
Something terrible must have happened for it to be this way.
Yeah, Evelyn, that's fucking witchcraft shit with tree. Since I'm able to feel the forest like she can, all I can do is watch and worry.
Just now? Or at least today?
Maybe. Or we may only now be feeling the effects. I'm not sure.
I can tell by the frustration in her voice, it's just nearly as in the dark as I am. I have to remind myself that what she knows she only picked up by intuition and years of observation. I'm fortunate to have a guide as knowledgeable as she is about her situation, even if she doesn't know everything. I know when we're close to the grove of ancestral trees from the change in the air, and the way that the trees are larger than before, the profound sense of being watched and primal energy is still present, but even that feels mellower. Or maybe strained. Through everything, there's also the acrid smell of smoke. Suddenly Abigail lets out a yelp of horror and dashes forward.
Abigail!
I follow right on her heels.
Oh no.
It doesn't take long to discover what she found. Where once there was a mighty tree, all that remains is a blistered and charred husk, blackened by flame. A painful buzzing penetrates my head, nearly unbearable, and all I can do is watch in horror as a foreign sorrow emanates. Even I can tell that this is the forest crying out. Here all the focus of its pain, and even I'm affected. I can't imagine how Abigail must feel. Her fingers run across the damaged wood as if searching for a sign of life. I have to remember this isn't just another part of the forest, this is its heart, its very soul. And for so long, it was also her home.
How did I not know? I've been so happy these few days that I must have blinded myself to the pain of the forest.
Her baby. From behind, I wrap my arms around her, pressing my face against her shoulder.
I'm sorry. It's not your fault, though. Even if you knew, you couldn't have changed it. If anything, we were lucky to have those few days.
She clings to me, pinning my arm into an even tighter embrace. As I feel her cry against me, my own uselessness feels like more of a curse than death ever was. I wish there was some magic word or spell I could use to make things better. It's kind of fucked up, these two are just kind of ghosts and just kind of have to sit and watch as everyone's out being the worst. All I can do is hug her tightly and warmly, and hope that I'm as much of a reassurance for her as she is for me. Then, without warning, I once again see my arms go transparent, and the feeling of Abigail against me disappears, although this time, it's not as big of a shock. It's still a reminder that I don't have long to wait. Abigail notices and steadies herself alone.
Let's keep going.
Why doesn't it stop, Evelyn? Isn't that its job as guardian?
It probably can't. I'm sure it wants to, but it relies on the forest for strength. So if the forest is weak, then it must be too. In fact, that may be Evelyn's intention.
Sinking feeling in my stomach intensifies. If she's even stronger than the forest spirit, then what hope do we have? I don't voice that fear though. I'm sure Abigail's already worried about the same thing. It isn't much longer before we encounter the spirit. At first, we almost missed it. The forest spirit stands idly in a clearing, as if lost in thought. It barely seems to notice us when we approach. A slight tilt of its head is the only acknowledgement we get. It's small, smaller than I've seen it before. It's barely as tall as I am. The light in its eyes, usually bright and terrifying, have gone dim. It looks like the wounded deer from the clearing the other day. It looks more like the wounded deer from the clearing the other day than the being who helped it pass on. Just like the trees it's protecting, the branches sag and are bare. A few have jagged ends, as if something snapped them off. None of the wildlife that usually accompanies it is around. Instead, it seems alone and abandoned. Though I hadn't been long since we last saw it, it looked significantly pained. I wonder if its salvation of Alma was taxing on it. Abigail cries out again, just like when we came across the buried tree. As anguished as she sounds then, this time it's even worse. I hang back as she runs to its side, not wanting to intrude on a private moment. She places a hand on its leg, crooning something that I can't make out. For the spirit tilts its head a little. The other spirit tilts its head a little bit more to face her. The motion is stilted and janky. As exhausted and sick as Abigail seems, the forest spirit seems to have 10 times worse. It makes a mournful sound, a deep and sonorous hum. It seems to echo and reverberate off the trees around us. Though I can't understand it like Abigail can. The pain and suffering in its tone is obvious. Abigail presses a cheek against it, eyeing the creature gently, the same way she sometimes comforts me. I look down at myself, shimmery and transparent, and I'm pretty sure we won't be getting any assistance from the spirit. A wave of nausea hits me as I ponder just what that means. I don't have any backup plan. If Abigail does, she doesn't mention it. Is my only choice just stay like this and hope my condition doesn't get any worse? Ever since I came here to the forest, it feels like I haven't had any control over my own fate. I can't help but worry this will be the final nail in the coffin, perhaps literally. I fidget and adjust my scarf and hood and glasses countless times. Abigail remains close to the spirit, pacing slow circles around it as she talks to it softly. Wonder what she's saying. Sometimes the spirit will hum or make a gesture that could be a nod. All the while, I keep my respectful distance. At some point, I realize that it's snowing. I don't know how long it's been going on. As some of the snow settles on the spirit's broad shoulders, it doesn't look festive or pretty. It just looks pitiful. The spirit sags, bearing the weight of the world. I'm not sure how long I wait. I'm not sure how long I wait, but I don't rush to Abigail at all. This could be the last opportunity she has to speak with Forest Spirit. Judging by its condition, I'm sure she's thinking the same thing. I flip between solid and intangible so many times that I stop keeping track. I just watch the two of them. Finally, Abigail pulls herself away from the spirit. She approaches me, looking like she wants to say something. Doesn't. Her eyes say it all, though. I try to hug her, but she softly shakes her head and instead escorts me away back into the woods. Though she never looks back, I do. But just once. The spirit's lonely eyes watch us go. Heavy snow batters us while we walk. Through the chorus, its chill doesn't reach us. Our visibility is effectively zero. Though of course its chill doesn't reach us, our visibility is effectively zero. Too weak to even alter the path of the forest, Abigail clings to my side, trusting me to lead the way back to the church. Although I maintain a brave face, I'm not fully confident in my ability to get us there. The blizzard calls to mind the memories of the day I died, though I don't let myself dwell on them. I'm not alone this time, and I have someone more to live for. Our journey is strenuous. We move at a glacial pace, and it's the fastest that Abigail can manage. Her steps are heavy and slow, but as much as I want to urge her along, I know that I can. I'm glad that she's watching the ground at her feet rather than me, so that she doesn't have to see the worry on my face. Every time I start to think that I've gotten this whole ghost thing figured out, something new arises to complicate it all over again. And this time I don't even have Abigail's guidance experience to guide me. What happens if she loses the ability to walk altogether, or to speak? What happens if the magic that keeps us here runs out? The occasional flickering in my body makes it a very real concurrence now. Makes it a very real concern now. I hold tightly to her hand, the only anchor of comfort and security right now, but even that has grown clammy and cold. Swallowing a lump in my throat, we march on. Trees blow in the wind, trying to turn their back against it. For the first time that I can remember, there aren't any woodland creatures out and about. No mice or rabbits or chirping birds, not even a panicked deer, phasing in and out of existence like me. It may as well just be me and her, and no one else in the universe.
Come on, I'm sure we're almost there. It can't be much further.
I say the words for my own sake as much as for hers, though in truth I have no idea if I'm right or not. For all I know, I could be heading a totally opposite direction of the church. Even then, once we arrive at the church, I'm not sure what to do. Will she get better with time or rest? Will she get better with time to rest? Will I? Right now the church is just a goal. To give us something tangible to work towards. Something to feel our feet moving. Something to keep our feet moving, slowly or not.
I'm sure you're right.
Her voice is barely a murmur. I can only hope that she's saving her energy on purpose. I'm afraid to ask. I wonder how much of what's happening is by the mirror's design. Well, everything stems from her. It's impossible to know how much was deliberate and how much was simply a ripple effect from what she's done. I wonder if she even considered us a threat, or gives us any thought at all. If she doesn't, then maybe we can use that against her. Of course, first we have to reach a point where we can do that. During a momentary lapse in the blizzard, I'm able to make out a welcome sight in the haze, a warped and curled tree that I distinctly remember from an earlier trip.
Look, you recognize that tree too, right? I'm pretty sure you were the one who showed it to me the first time. We're almost home.
Abigail nods weakly, though she doesn't say anything. I squeeze her hand, trying to impart some strength into her. It kills me to see her like this, and I'd give anything to be able to help her.
Almost there, you've got this.
She nods again, unable to do or say anymore. Except she doesn't stop nodding. Like a bobblehead, I tug her along, trying to lead her the rest of the short way, but she's rooted to the spot.
Listen.
And then she collapses. The world I jolt and choke on something as I gasp for breath that I didn't actually need. Abigail has fallen to her knees. I didn't even feel her hand slip out of mine. I try to make the half step, cross a few centimeters, but a moment later it's black. It takes a moment to understand that I immediately wish I hadn't. Oh my god, I just stopped existing for a second. Profound dread grasps my heart, looking down at myself once again. I can see right through my hand and arm to the snow accumulating beneath us. Not good. This is extremely not good. I collapse to the ground beside Abigail, but at least of my own accord. I try to shake her by the shoulder, but it takes several tries before I can maintain a form long enough to even touch her.
I'm sorry, Medicine. I just need a little break.
With visible effort, she turns to look at me. I don't think she even realizes what's happening. Then I phase into non-existence for another moment. When I come back, horror is clearly etched into her face. Finding some hidden reserve of strength, she lunges towards me and grabs my hand immediately. Everything goes black, everything's back to normal.
Madison, are you okay? Can you hear me?
I'm fine now.
I hold her hand a bit tighter to reaffirm it.
Are you okay though?
I'm just a little tired is all.
She forces herself up again, looking more than a little tired. Immediately she sways and nearly falls, but I catch and steady her. She leans into me and I pull her into a hug.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Gently I stroke her hair. I'm sure I'm terrified, but I don't want her to see that. It'd only make things worse. I get Abigail over to a fallen tree where we can sit down, indifferent to the blizzard even though the church isn't much further. I don't want to push her too much right now. I wrap one arm around her as we sit, and I hold her close.
Where can we go for help? Maybe if the forest spirit sees how rough it is for us.
But she shakes her head.
Believe me, it would if it could. But I fear that it's even weaker than I am right now. It's much more in tune with the forest than me, so it's suffering the effects even more strongly.
All of this because Evelyn killed one tree?
It wasn't just any tree. It was one of the ancestral trees. The oldest one. They're the heart of the forest. All of its strength comes from them.
I can't pretend to understand their importance, but I know that Abigail isn't exaggerating. Not at a time like this.
So what do we do? There has to be some sort of solution, right? Can we plant another tree or something?
Even as I say it, I know the idea is ridiculous. We don't exactly have the centuries it would take for a new tree to grow as big and strong as the one that was killed.
The forest spirit is supposed to become the next one. All of the ancestral trees were once spirits like the one you've met.
What's stopping it? The mayor?
Her hand clenches around my shoulder, where she was holding on tightly.
That's right. I hadn't even realized.
Realized what?
Groaning, Abigail sits up straight. So long as we're close, it seems I'm able to maintain my physical form.
This spirit can't pass on its own. It needs the help of the Fairy Queen. That's one of her duties to the forest.
But there's no fairy queen right now.
Yes, which means that there's no one to complete the ritual.
The rest goes unspoken as we both come to the same realization. An awful one.
Madison,
I know. There aren't any other options, are there?
none that I know of.
I close my eyes, take a deep breath, heading off the wave of fear that I know is coming.
I'm sorry, again.
It's okay. You don't need to apologize. Really.
But
Taking both her hands in my own, I turn to face her, understanding. Her eyes close halfway as her lips part to meet mine. Part of me wishes I could spend an eternity like this, together, warm with the woman I love. But even that isn't an option anymore. Our kiss ends far too quickly, although I'm not sure it could have ever been. We part, there are tears on Abigail's face. I'm not sure if they're mine or hers.
It'll be okay somehow.
I'll be with you, no matter what.
I know. Thank you. Seriously. I couldn't do this without you.
I love you.
I love you too.
As one, we turn and face the forest again, putting the church behind us. Presenting myself to what comes next, I point in the direction we need to go.
Let's go visit the fairies. I'm sure they're still looking for a new queen.
Oh shit. Once again, we reach the grove or the fairy's nest. It occurs to me that is the only part that seems unaffected by the forest sickness. The trees are just as vibrant as ever. We stumble into the middle, near the shores of the pond. Abigail takes several woozy steps, and I hold onto her shoulder to keep her steady. Then I flick her, and she starts to fall, barely managing to keep her balance. Forget days or even hours to find another solution. We may not even have minutes.
Hello?
I call out as a bit surprised that none of the fairies have come to greet us. I watch the trees and listen to the buzz and flutter of wings, but it remains silent and still.
Hello? Fairies!
It feels a little absurd and on the nose, but I don't know what else to say. There's no response.
Please, we need your help!
I may as well be shouting into the void. There's not even a single rustle. I notice that the birds who used to nest in the bushes seem to have abandoned this place. Tendrils of fear creep through me. What if the fairies are gone too?
Madison.
Turn towards Abigail. She's not even looking at me.
Madison.
She just murmurs my name over and over. I steel myself and face forward for her.
If you can help us, I'll find you a queen. Even if it has to be me.
Oh shit. My voice sounds stronger than I feel. There's no reaction. My heart pounds, feeling like it's going to burst out of my chest. Seconds pass. Nothing. Beside me, Abigail's fallen silent, swaying on her feet, but looking as if she may collapse. All of her trust and hope has been placed in me. I can't let her down. I won't let it happen. Just as I gather breath to yell out again, I start to hear a faint buzzing sound deep in the trees. Something flickers far away, but it's getting closer. I realize it's many somethings. Tiny lights sparkle to life, woven throughout and across the trees like Christmas lights. Those and the growing buzz herald the arrival of the fairies. They burst from the trees as a swarm, nearly enough to darken the sky overhead. Like before, the three break apart from the rest and swoop towards us. I recognize them as the three I spoke to before, the ones I named Hey, Anon, and Frio.
You're back! To be queen? We've been waiting.
They watch inquisitively while the rest of the swarm hovers overhead. It isn't what I want. I still barely know what being a queen would entail, much less a fairy queen. All I have is one short vision. But it's not like I have the time to research or to learn. There's no time for anything else. It's this or disappear forever and leave Abigail to whatever fate she's suffering. Of course, that's not an option I'm willing to even consider. I put on the sternest face I can and look eyes with the fairy in the middle.
Only if you can help us.
Wordlessly, the three fairies dart forward, inspecting Abigail and me. They communicate silently with each other, leaving me to wonder what they're saying and thinking. A minute later, they return to their position in front of my face.
Name your terms. But are you sure? We think we know.
If you make us human again, and stop whatever it is that's happening to us, then I'll make sure you have a queen. Whether it's me or someone else.
A queen! Who else could it be? We've spent so long looking. There's not much time left! For you or for us!
Wait, what do you mean? What are you running out of time for?
She'll make her move! Haven't you seen? The moonsick one.
Moonsick. Just that word again.
Moonsick one. You mean Evelyn?
Motherfucker. I assumed it was I assumed they were talking about cat.
Evelyn. A human name. It must be her.
I don't fully follow, but there's no one else that could really be referring to. There's so much that I want to ask, but I can't right now.
How long do we have?
Until the moon is at its brightest. That's when she's strongest. Will you be ready then?
I'll have to be.
I haven't been paying much attention to the moon, but I know that I can't. That I know that it can't be more than a week until it's full. Probably less. Wish I had Tara's stupid shirt to use as a reference right now. Tara. And all of this, I haven't even really been considering that by becoming human again, not just a ghost, I'll be able to see her again. That's at least one big upside, though I don't know where we'll even begin catching up. So there's something else to figure out later. That's something else to figure out later. Facing the fairies, I nod.
Okay,
We can start preparing. Are you ready? It won't take long.
Yeah. I just need a moment to get ready, too.
The fairies flit off and rejoin the rest of their kind, not bothering to respond. That's fine by me. Turn back to Abigail, who's been silent throughout this entire thing. At first I thought maybe she'd passed out, but instead she watches me with anxious eyes.
Medicine, are you sure?
Softly she leans against me. Well, she kind of falls.
Yes, I'm sure.
Fairies have all gathered near the pond, close to one of the trees. They watch us intently, ruining the chance of any private moment. Kiss Abigail's cheek and feel her nuzzle against me for just a moment.
I love you, Madison.
She says it with more strength than she's been able to muster so far.
I love you, too.
We look into each other's eyes for one last moment, then I turn and stride towards the fairies. I don't let myself look down. I don't let my hands shake. I keep my steps measured and even. I only glance back once to where Abigail is watching me. Then Hey, Frio, and Anon descend once more. Frio loosely grips a crown of woven flowers and leaves, as out of season as the rest of the grove. I would say that doesn't feel real, but to tell the truth, it's been a long time since anything has.
Is it time? We hope it is. Just put this on.
That's it. All I have to do is put on the crown?
That's all for you. Is that too much? We'll do the rest.
Okay. Frio hands me the crown. I let it rest on my palms. It's light, barely noticeable. The flowers are all woven together so deftly that I have to wonder if it was made by magic. It's also slightly warm, like it had just been sitting in the sun for a while. I swallow the lump in my throat. This is what's best for everyone. Not just for me or Abigail, but for the whole forest.
Marinette wears a beautiful, delicate flower crown.
With one swift motion, I reach up and place the crown on my head. It fits perfectly, as if it was made for me. I wonder if it was. The moment it touches my hair, the fairies start to move. They chatter out loud, but there are so many of them speaking that it's impossible to hear what they're saying. I don't even know if they're human words. Altogether, they sound like a forest of rustling leaves. I shut my eyes as I feel a tingling sensation. It starts at the top of my head and slowly works its way through me. It's not uncomfortable at all, but it also isn't anything ignorable. Something soft brushes against my face and hands. It feels like snow, but isn't cold. And when it melts away, there's no trace of wetness left behind. An invisible force feels like it's tugging me in every direction at once, but I stay rooted to the spot. A light scent of pine fills my nose. Somehow, it's nostalgic.
As Maddie is crowned the Fairy Queen, her outfit changing to match her new role, her simple jacket changes to a long, frilly green dress with light lace, decorated with blooming flowers.
I open my eyes, still in the middle of my metamorphosis. Warmth spreads through my body like a hot cup of coffee, and with it comes understanding of the forest and how I'm a part of it. I'm acutely aware of its existence, tuned to its precise frequency. I imagine this must be what Abigail meant by being connected. Memories that aren't mine start to run through my head. A movie that I can't shut off. Visions of trees sprouting from the earth and growing skyward, and of clouds forming and then falling apart. Each denizen of the forest, every tree, every deer, even the forest spirit itself, come to mind at once, feeling like old friends I haven't seen in a while. None of it feels new. It's not intrusive or foreign. Rather, this knowledge feels like something that's always been there, but without my awareness. Or maybe something I'd forgotten. It's comfortable. And still the fairies dance overhead, their rustling chants even louder as they perform their ritual. I wonder if all fairy queens are inaugurated this way. And at the same moment I wonder, I know instinctively that they aren't. Visions of a beautiful woman whom I immediately recognize as the missing fairy queen come to mind. And with her comes a longing, a feeling of something missing. Then as my thoughts turn, the vision and the longing are gone too. I can feel the rustle of cloth against my skin as even my clothes acknowledge the changes, taking on a life and form of their own. They lengthen and stretch and puff out, becoming a dress more elaborate and beautiful than anything I've ever worn before. Living, breathing flowers bloom from its hem right before my eyes, matching the crown on my head. I feel the magic work its way through, over, and around me, enveloping tightly. And then, as the ceremony comes close to an end, I start to feel it drain out of me. It seeps down and out, and back into the earth and air, returning to the forest that lent me its strength and trust to take on this role. As I heave a deep breath, the enormity of the responsibility that's been placed on me feels heavy, but not unbearably so. If anything, I'm reassured by the competence and power that I can simply feel that I have. I'm not invincible. I know that much. But for the first time in ages, I feel like I'm in control. I stumble, just a little bit, as my feet touch the ground that I never knew I'd left. The instant that I do, the last of the shifting magic leaves me, although I can still feel it as part of the forest. Without anyone saying anything, without any confirmation, I simply know. It's done. I've become the Fairy Queen.
She looks damn good while doing it. Shit. Alright, I'll save here. I'm gonna take a 5-minute break and then we'll continue. I don't know if we'll get to chapter 6 or not. I only have a couple more hours to stream. But I shall be back. Wrong button. moment. Let's continue. Yeah. My first steps as Fairy Queen are shaky. At any moment, it feels like my legs might give out from under me. Yet at the same time, I feel a sort of confidence and inner strength. I don't know if magic literally courses through my veins or not, but it feels that way. My first few steps as Fairy Queen are easier. My next few steps as Fairy Queen are easier. I keep my gaze fixed on Abigail as I make my way towards her. She waits impatiently, concern clearly etched into her face. The fairy's buzz agitated over my head, darting and dashing in pointless patterns. Though they don't vocalize anything, I can hear their voice clearly in my mind.
Our queen! Welcome home. How does it feel?
I acknowledge their words, and at the same time, I can feel myself be acknowledged. It comes as naturally as breathing. I promise that I'll get to them in a moment.
Madison, are you alright?
She clings to my side, her slender arms tight around me, though I'm not shaking anymore. Her presence is still infinitely reassuring. I press my lips to her head as we sway gently back and forth. I can feel her too. As part of the forest, her presence is as warm and comforting in my hand, in my head, as in my arm.
I'm fine. I'm totally fine.
She makes a sound that I think is a gasp, but that I soon realize is a sob. Abigail cries against my shoulder, her arms tightening like a vice. I don't even want to let her go. I hold her as tightly as I can, while my body is racked with sobs. Her breath and tears are warm, almost painfully hot. The thin lace on my outfit does little to inhibit them.
I'm so sorry that all of this is happening. I'm sorry.
Gently, I find my hands and take them. Gently, I find her hands and take them in mine. I squeeze them, trying to impart the same kind of solace that she gives to me.
It's okay. Really. I'm happy things turned out this way. I'm glad that I met you, no matter the circumstances.
Her cries get stronger, and I drop one of her hands in order to brush her hair back from her tear-stained face. We hold each other tightly until she's able to calm down. Meanwhile, the fairies still continue to circle overhead, although they remain respectfully quiet. Finally, Abigail heaves a steady breath and steps back just a little bit.
I'm sorry again. It was just that seeing you there with the fairy light. I mean, you looked beautiful. You still do. More than beautiful. But it made me again realize everything that you've gone through. Everything I've put you through.
Press her finger to her lips. She looks up at me, surprise, replacing the sadness.
It's okay. I'd go through all of it again to end up here with you. I mean it.
Abigail sniffs heavily, and I can tell that she's trying not to cry again.
You can make it up to me by getting out of all of this with me.
She nods.
That sounds more like a gift to me than the other way around. But I'll keep being selfish and take it.
Good. I want you to be selfish.
We kiss quickly and briefly, then separate. I look up at the fairies above me, who are glad to be noticed again.
Thank you for saving me like this. I owe you my life.
Somehow
I've ended up owing my life to way more people than I ever expected to.
you have 3 days to keep it. That's right! You're running out of time! We can't wait much longer!
I know. I'll find a queen for you.
I know that it won't be as easy as I make it sound. After meeting some of the Eisenfeld locals, I don't get the impression that any of them would be interested in the offer. Still, I have 3 days to figure it out.
We'll be waiting. We know we'll see you again. With a new queen or not.
The ritual finished, and the fairies quickly disperse back into the trees. I'm glad that there's no more ceremony or ritual to go along with my transformation. Alone with Abigail once more, I head to the shore of the pond so I can finally get a full glimpse of myself. I barely recognize my own reflection. The girl staring back at me from beneath the water looks much more suited to the position of a queen than I expected. She looks calm and confident, like she's unafraid of whatever happens next. I hope I'm not just fooling myself. I turn this way and that, admiring my new outfit. Atop my head, the flower crown that the fairies gave to me fits comfortably. I wonder if it was meant to tempt me into staying. Abigail moves closer, peering into the water with me. Our reflections next to each other serve as a visible reminder to why I can't stay. As comfortable and satisfying as this newfound gift is, I have no desire to keep it at the cost of our freedom. I'll get us out of this.
Are you ready to go?
I am.
Okay, first things first, we need to get in touch with Morgan and Tara. They probably know more about the mayor than we do.
It'll also get my mind at ease a lot. There's so much that I need to say to Tara. Everything I spent all 3 of our days just talking with her. Even if I spent all 3 of our days just talking with her, that still wouldn't be enough time.
How will we do that? Going into the village would be far too dangerous.
We don't have to. We just have to get to the cabin.
I flex my fingers, still acutely aware of the magical tingle.
And that's easy like this.
Abigail runs her fingers over mine, her skin angelically soft like always.
All right. I trust you.
Curl my fingers, squeezing her hand again.
Thank you. Speaking of which, there's something I think we should do.
Pause for a moment while she waits expectantly, much like the way my coronation just ended. What I'm about to say seems unceremonious.
I think I can return us to the physical plane too. Both of us.
Takes a second for the implication to sink in before Abigail's eyes go as wide as saucers.
Madison! Are you sure?
Her hand clutches her heart.
Yeah, I can't explain how I know, but I just do. There's a lot of stuff that I can do now. But that way, you'll be able to talk with Morgan and Tara too. And I know that we'll need all the help we can get at the end.
Keep banishing the thoughts of what that end will be, because there's only one way this can end, putting a stop to Evelyn once and for all. I don't need that weighing on my mind along with everything else right now.
I understand. You know that I wouldn't just abandon you, Madison.
I know.
Abigail takes a deep breath, steadying herself.
Okay. I'm ready.
Let's go kick Evelyn's ass. Silently, I step forward, taking her other hand in mine as well. I close my eyes and bow my head, and I feel her do the same. I can feel the magic coursing through me and out of me, spreading like vines from my fingers. It affects both me and her, taking our forms and rebinding them to the mortal world where they belong. I can feel Abigail tense up and hear her breathing getting shallow. Still, I keep my eyes closed, willing the magic to continue working. It obeys my whims effortlessly. And then after a minute that feels like an hour, the flow of magic slows, then stops. I open my eyes. Abigail is standing there, her hands warm in mine, her eyes slowly open as well, meeting mine. This close together, I can feel her breathing warm against my face.
How do you feel?
A light breeze blows through. For the first time in 200 years, Abigail's gown sways in the wind.
It's cold.
She says and laughs, pressing herself even more tightly against me. Abigail shivers, her teeth begin chittering within seconds of her transformation. Despite how poofy it is, this gown really isn't very warm at all. Unfortunately, the chill doesn't bother me. It wouldn't make sense for a fairy queen to be susceptible to the cold. But taking care of Abigail is a pressing matter.
Let's go to the cabin. I can get us there quickly.
She does a nod, wrapping her arms around herself. I hug her tightly as well and access the magic once again. This time I use it to transport us across the forest to its very boundary where the cabin is, and where my powers stop being useful. Since the cabin and the village are technically outside the bounds of the forest, once I step past the trees, I'll just be a regular ghost again, at least until I go back into the forest. So I can't get too far away. If Evelyn were to find out where we are, or make some moves against us, I'd be powerless to stop her. Better to not even give her that opportunity. Still, the transportation is smooth and doesn't even feel like we move. Instead, we close our eyes in the fairy clearing. When we open them again, the cabin is just in front of us. Seeing it again strikes a pang in my heart. It feels like forever ago. I guess technically it was a lifetime ago. There's no time to get sentimental though, not when Abigail's like this. Instead we hurry to the front door. Miraculously the door is unlocked. I guess Morgan and Tara had more important things to worry about than locking up the last time we were here. We rush inside and turn on both the lights and the heater. As warm air cranks out, Abigail's relief is palpable and immediate. She sits down onto one of the chairs, comfiness outweighing even her curiosity for just a moment.
Better?
Much.
Let's go. They don't have to be ghosts anymore. Kinda. She luxuriates in the feeling, eyes closed in bliss. Her fingers absentmindedly scrape the soft cushion of the couch, which she presses her back into.
It's so soft.
She then leans on her feet. She then leaps to her feet, zooming towards the kitchen. She drags her fingers along every different surface as she goes, stopping to examining most of them. She rubs the edge of the counter.
Madison is so smooth and cold.
At the sink, she examines the faucet intently before spinning one of them. Cold water pours out over her hands as she yelps and shocks, quickly grinning.
Madison, it's like a river.
That's adorable. When she reaches the heater, which is pretty much keeping her alive right now, like a cat, she basks in front of it, relishing in the warmth. Each sensation seems to bring her immeasurable joy. For me, it's been a couple weeks. For Abigail, it's been 200 years without feeling warmth or cold or textures. I watch fondly. I wish we'd had more time to enjoy ourselves, more time to show her modern things like films. I remind myself that I can't think like that. We just don't have the time yet. We just have to get through this, then we'll have all the time in the world.
I'm going to get you some warmer clothes. I'll be right back.
All right.
She's still plopped in front of the heater, closer than I could have thought is comfortable. Smiling, I head into what was once my bedroom. It's been rearranged a bit. My suitcase has been shoved to one corner, forgotten. The laptop still at the top of the bed, although most of the video gear is missing. Tara and Morgan must have taken it with them when they left. Good thinking. I start booting up my laptop while I roll the suitcase to my bed and start shifting through my clothes. After everything I've been through, the actions feel so mundane that I have to give myself a second just to let it all sink in. Everything's been moving so fast since that night. Abigail and I kissed by the water. There's hardly been a chance to breathe. Still, being back on familiar territory with familiar comforts is reassuring. It makes me feel like a human again. Something as simple as being able to push a button on my computer and watch it respond is a little miracle that I don't think I'll take for granted again. Getting used to the necessities of normal life, like eating and sleeping, will definitely take some time though. Same with keeping warm. Unfortunately for Abigail, my clothes are the only option she has. They won't fit her as well, but they should be better than the nightgown she's been wearing for so long. I complete the outfit with a cute hat. I hope she likes it.
Here you go. They're not the best fit, but they should at least keep you warm.
Abigail hurries over and reverently takes the bundle from me.
Are these your clothes?
Yeah, they are. I hope that's okay.
She holds the bundle to her chest.
I'll treasure them.
I show her to the bathroom and also explain how everything works. I have to admire her restraint and just accepting everything modern in stride. Abigail reappears instead of Madison's clothes, wearing a warmly knitted hat, grey long skirt, and purple coat. It isn't too long before she emerges once again. She holds her arms wide, the clothes hang a little loosely for her in parts, but she's smiling. Oh, she looks adorable.
How do I look?
Gorgeous.
That's the word I managed to stammer out. There's a whole slew of them that would work. Call me biased, but I think my clothes look better on her than me. Giggling, she does a slow spin, showing off more.
The person who chose them has wonderful taste.
Abigail gets comfortable in the living room while I grab my laptop from the bed. I sit down beside her, turning it on so she can see.
This is a computer. It can do a ton of things, but it also lets people talk via long distances.
And that's how you're going to contact Tara?
Right.
Abigail watches with rapt attention as I open a browser and wait for the painfully slow internet to load my email.
There are so many different pictures and words. Don't you ever lose track of where you are?
Not really. You get used to it.
Surely you're being modest. I imagine very few people could operate one of these.
I love her.
I wish. But really, most people have one of their own. Or even more than one. They're a really common part of everyday life.
I see. In that case, you'll have to teach me.
Definitely. For now, though, I'm going to send that message.
How will it be transported?
It's,
I have to explain the internet to this kitty. I'm trying to think of how to explain this. Then I realized that I have the perfect analogy.
You know how the forest is all totally connected? Like, how you can sense all the different parts of it?
Abigail nods and slowly her face gets pale.
Medicine. Don't tell me that modern people are connected in the same way.
I can't help it, I burst out laughing. Indignantly, she waits for me to finish. It takes me past the point of having tears in my eyes before I do.
I can see that I was wrong.
She pretends to pout. I think I can see in her eyes that she's just playing.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's just that you look so horrified.
She laughs too.
Well, imagine how I feel. Apparently nothing is impossible anymore, so I simply have to assume the worst.
She snuggles up against me, pressing her cheek against my shoulder to show that she's only pretending to be upset.
So, go on. Do explain it then.
It's not the people who are connected, but the machines. If you have a computer, you can send a message instantly to any other computer in the world. It's more complicated than that, but that's the easy way to put it.
I see. So you're going to send a message to Tara's computer.
Right. I'm going to tell her to come and meet us here. I hope she'll believe it's me.
I'm sure that she'll know, somehow.
I nod, entering Tara's email address into the field. It feels absurdly formal to be sending an email of all things to get in touch with her. I don't think we've even had an email conversation. I don't think we've ever had an email conversation in our lives. I leave the subject line blank. Anything you could put there would feel comical. I don't really know how to word the rest of this message, so I don't think about it. I just put my fingers to the keys and start to type. Dear Tara, I know this is going to sound kind of hard to believe. I'm antiquating Abby with modern technology when the sound of loud voices from outside interrupts me mid-sentence. Well, very obnoxiously loud voice. One very obnoxiously loud voice. I only know one person who can make a racket like that. I grab Abigail's hand and lead her out into the living room, just in time to hear Tara and we can reach the door. Let's fucking go. Finally, something good's happening in this story.
Tara, stop for a second. We don't know for sure this isn't a trap.
Yeah, but what if it's not? I can't take that chance. I'm going in.
Tara, wait!
The door flies open so hard it bangs against the wall. Tara freezes in the doorway, probably not expecting me to be right here. Or maybe even here at all.
Hey.
Everything I had rehearsed and planned to say in my head is forgotten in an instant. Somehow this feels more unreal than anything else so far. I never had time to doubt any of the stuff that happened to me. I had plenty of time to doubt that I'd see Tara again. Tara's mouth flaps up and down like a nutcracker statue. I don't think she forms a single coherent word. Morgan approaches from behind and places a protective hand on Tara's shoulder, which seems to reset her. She rubs her eyes as she stares. Either she doesn't believe what she's seeing, or she's about to cry. Maybe both.
You've changed your look a little bit, huh?
When she finally speaks, her voice shakes like crazy.
You like it?
Tara gives me a slight nod.
It makes you look like a total nerd.
Without another word, she bursts into tears. She doesn't even hesitate a moment before bounding forward like an excited, tear-stained racing dog. I spent so long worrying about her that seeing her safe and sound in the flesh is almost too much to handle. So many things that we left unsaid or unresolved. I'm just glad that there's time to fix that now.
I thought you were dead.
Me too.
We both burst into laughter, still punctuated with sobs. But at least we both have the clarity of mind to tell this hug has gone on for way too long. When we split apart, we had a big dumb grin. She had a big dumb grin on her big dumb face.
Welcome back, Mads.
Good to be back, Tara.
A reunion over, Morgan finally steps forward, taking Tara's hand in her own. She smiles at me, her expression soft for once.
Hey, Maddie. It's good to see you again.
Her voice is still calm as ever, but the wide, genuine smile on her face tells me those last couple of weeks have changed her as much as they changed me.
You too, Morgan.
I feel like I should say something more than that, but I know neither of us is much for words. It's nice to have someone else around who feels the same way for once.
Before anything else, there's someone I'd like to introduce you to.
Turn to gesture for Abigail, but at first she's nowhere to be seen. Then I spot a familiar flash of pink and purple lingering by my bedroom door. Right, we've spent so long together that I'd forgotten how timid she was when we first met. Her eyes are wide and she wrings her hands, looking from me to Tara and back. Tara and Morgan look just as shocked once they notice. I head over to where Abigail is and take her hand.
They're okay. I promise.
She nods, letting herself be led back into the living room.
Tara, Morgan, I'd like you to meet Abigail.
I pause for a moment.
She's my girlfriend.
Whoa, we do have a lot to catch up on.
She turns to face Abigail.
I'm Tara. I've been friends with Maddie for forever.
It's nice to finally meet you, Tara. I've heard a lot about you.
Hell yeah! All good things, I hope?
Mostly.
I'll take it.
Morgan steps forward too.
Morgan, nice to meet you.
Abigail nods politely.
You as well.
So, let's sit down. We've got a lot of catching up to do and not a whole lot of time to do it.
Four of us move to the couch and sit down. Right as we do, though, there's a loud grumble from beside me. Abigail clutches her stomach, looking absolutely mortified.
What was that? What's happening?
Oh, yeah. We should probably eat something.
Eat.
Her eyes light up.
That's right. I'm hungry.
Morgan and Tara look baffled. I can't blame them for that one.
Like I said, long story. Is there anything to eat? It's been a long time since either of us have had a meal.
I'll make us some breakfast. Cross your fingers for pancake mix. Anyway, I think that's everything.
Minus the really juicy stuff, anyway.
God damn it, Tara.
I'm okay with not hearing about that. Thanks.
Abigail, when I finally finished her meal, wraps her arm around mine and rests her head against me. Morgan sighs and sends Tara and me a meaningful look. She rises and clears her throat.
Abigail, would you mind coming with me for a minute?
Morgan's voice carries a more serious tone that feels like a sudden departure from the light-hearted reminiscing. I know it couldn't last forever, but I'm hopeful we can return to it soon.
Is something wrong?
No, not at all. But there's something we need to talk about. And besides...
She looks at Tara, then over to me. Her tone might be serious, but her soft expression makes it clear she's not about to deliver any bad news.
These two might need a bit of privacy.
I nod at her and Abigail lets go of my arm. A quick kiss on the cheek, she stands and walks to Morgan's side. The two of them head towards the bedrooms, leaving Tara and I to stare at each other in silence. We look away from each other awkwardly as I try to think of what to say. Should I speak first? Should I wait for her? What do I do? What do I say? She knows how much I missed her, but there's so much tension between us before I died. I never had a chance to apologize for hating Abigail, or for how I handled telling her I was going to quit. Take a deep breath and raise my head. I just need to go for it. I've spent enough time waiting for her to speak. Whatever happens, happens.
I'm sorry.
I shouldn't have.
It was really shitty of me to. I just.
We both slam our mouths shut. Tara's face reddens and she chuckles softly.
Maybe we should take turns.
As long as you don't mind going first.
She takes a long, overly dramatic breath and closes her eyes.
I know I was shitty to you about leaving. I should have listened to you and accepted it instead of being all bitter and passive-aggressive. And I know I was even shittier once we got evidence. I shouldn't have frozen you out like that.
Maybe a bad choice of words there, Tara.
I mean, I shouldn't have ignored you the way I did. I want you to be a part of Terranormal. I really do. Trying to exclude you was stupid and impulsive.
She looks at me right in the eyes. I can tell I can tell that all our typical bravado is gone. This is pure, naked honesty. It's hard enough for me to manage something like that, much less her. She really puts her heart into this, and I'm more than grateful for that.
When all of this is over, whatever you decide to do, I won't stand in your way. You know I always want you to be a part of Terranormal, but you gotta be your own person. And you're my best friend. Thinking I might have lost you forever made me realize I honestly have no idea what I'd do without you. I give you a lot of shit, but I really do love you. I'm so sorry this all happened because I was too much of a screw-up to remember that.
Tara exhales and slumps back into the chair, as if the act of apologizing drained all the energy out of her body. She's grown so much in the short time we've been here. Then again, so have I. I need to make sure I show her the same sincerity in return.
I'm sorry too, Tara. Even if I was mad, I shouldn't have hidden Abigail from you. It made things worse for both of us. And it drove us apart when we should have been getting closer than ever. But more than that, I shouldn't have set this whole thing into motion the way I did.
The memory of our fight back home is painful, but I can't keep trying to run away. Instead of dealing with it head on, it's not fair on either of us.
I should have told you I was thinking about leaving and why I was thinking it. I should have talked things over with you instead of dropping the bomb on you right before we left. When I thought I was going to be stuck here forever, I realized you were the person I'd miss more than anyone else. Even more than my family. I don't know what I'm going to do when we get back. I still have a lot to figure out. But I do know that whatever happens, we'll always be best friends.
Hi.
As she struggles to think of what to say next, I gently put my arm around her in a reassuring hug. We've said enough for now. She hugs back, squeezing a bit hard. We stay that way until it starts to get awkward, as hugs between us tend to do. I pull away and sit down, a bit embarrassed.
So, are we good?
I let out a deep breath, releasing the anxiety that had been twisting my stomach in knots. Whatever happens next, I know it'll be easier for that dragging me down.
Yeah. I think we're good.
Are we good enough for me to start calling you the ghost with the most?
Don't push it.
Right. I've been screaming for nearly 3 hours, and I think that's a perfectly wholesome note to leave this on. Allow me to quickly save. I am. Oh, fuck's sake. There we are. I think we finally get it to end on a wholesome note. I'll probably be able to stream this again Friday, if not Sunday. But until then, bye.